Does it? Well, huh. Interesting. All right, that's really weird.
Unstable. I connected all the wires.
I'm sure you did.
Unstable.
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 That's what you are. All right, sorry. Bam, bam. Copy. Top chat. Live chat. Bam. Paste. Go. Pin. Oh, you dirty freaking dog. No way. Huh? Interesting. Okay, where was I? You. The cars don't. I got everything broken. Share. Discord. YouTube. Kick. Okay, there we go. There we go. Well, that was broken. YouTube. Did that not go? Well, that's weird. Oh, it updates it. What up, Brianna? I'm learning magic. How you doing? I'm 3 hours late. Speaking of which, speaking of looking, you know what I need to look? I need to clean my glasses. I need to clean my glasses. There we go. Now I can look. I can look at my Brianna. There we go. All right, how you doing, girl? Okay, let me see if I can find what I wanted to show. I had something interesting. Hopefully, I've saved it. I'm pretty sure I did. Playlists. Oh, hold on. First, let me check this. Okay, that works. Okay, playlist. All right, let me see. I should have the wrong button. Oh, hush. Okay, where's it at? This is wackadoodle. Oh, no, I didn't save it. But you know what we can do. All right. We'll see you. Hello, everybody. Hello. All right, sorry. I'm not sorry. All right, okay, where was it at? Where is it at? Hopefully I can find it. What doctors find inside of dead bodybuilders. Oh, man. That looks freaking rough. Probably lots of synthol. Let's see. Hopefully I can find it. Hair. Ooh. Somebody sued a hair salon for lost hair. $480,000. Wow, you should see the tits on this guy. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing, buddy? Jeez. That's the internet, man. Ooh, aviation moments. 55 years of the 555 timer. Um. Ooh. 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 This looks too long. All right, we'll give this a try. We'll give this a try.
Letters that could kill, trumpets said to start wars, and a statue that wiped out entire families.
Sad. Some people use a needle to look and be stronger. It's not worth the damage to your body. Brother, listen. Attention is one of the most addictive things. And this is why, like, Hollywood knew what was going to happen when the average person could have social media and everybody could see their faces on millions of screens. They knew exactly how influence was going to work. They knew exactly how, and so when the internet became a thing, it was so super profitable to help people change. Like filters that girls use. Do you know, like, plastic surgery has gone up like a couple 1,000% since the release of face shaping filters. Like, it's so. But yeah, just think about if you were a young girl on the internet, like just turning 18 or whatever. You're on the internet and you're using a filter because you've got some apparent flaw, a flaw that you think you have. So you use a filter to cover it up and it shapes your cheeks in a little bit. It gives your lips a little more full. And then so like you get a pretty good following. People know who you are. And then now you got to go out and meet them in public. And now you don't look like in real life what you look like on the internet. So what do? Hi, Doc, can you fit me in? And you go under the knife. And bodybuilders do it. And I mean, men, girls, boys, men, women, children, like people, like, listen, it gets crazy. And people destroy themselves.
These are even more mysterious museums that contain items too dangerous to display.
I dated a girl who put padding in her bra. She didn't even need it. Right. Well, she probably had a friend that had bigger boobs than she had. And so she felt in competition to girls with another cup size larger. I've known a lot of girls that do that. And you can buy expensive padding. Like there were these things this one girl used to use. They were called cutlets. Fish head meme. What up, yeet? They were called cutlets. They were like these. They looked like chicken breast, but they were warm, So and they felt squishy, like they felt like boobs. These cannons.
In the fall of 2000.
So that way, because if anybody grabbed their boob through their bra under their shirt, it would feel like a boob, I guess. I mean, instead of using, I don't know, maybe it was less irritating. I don't know. But yeah, let me see if I can find them. I want to make sure boobs don't pop up on my screen here. Breast enlarging cutlets, silicone. Yeah, here they go. Here they are right here. These right here. They look like chicken, uncooked chicken. Let me see. Let me go to images. I want to make sure I don't got a bunch of nips all over the screen. Yeah, this one you can here you go. Like look at that one right there. It's just they look like uncooked chicken. And then you got these over here. They just want a little more cleavage, a little more. And the thing is, I remember, I can't tell the story on here, but yes. It's a weird world we live in. But it's okay. But it's not guys that make girls feel bad about their boob size. At least, maybe one boy that a girl liked might have said you had small boobs in elementary school, but I don't think that would cause a trauma, but when I remember when I was in school, it was the girls that were, and this is why female influencers can make so much money, because they're selling to other females.
Most people had no reason to think twice about their mail. Letters showed up, you opened them, that was it. So when a few newsrooms started getting odd envelopes with no return addresses, people were a bit confused, but not necessarily worried. It'd be one thing getting a mysterious package with no return address, but what could be wrong with a harmless letter, right? Well, these were not harmless letters. On September 18th, someone mailed 5 letters from a blue postal box in Trenton, New Jersey. They were sent to NBC,
arsenic.
CBS, ABC, the New York Post, and the National Enquirer. Inside was a light brown sandy powder. The first sign that something was truly wrong came weeks later. Robert Stevens, a photo editor from the
Doing
company
good,
that owned the Enquirer,
Bernardo.
got seriously sick and ended up in the hospital. Doctors eventually figured out he had inhalation anthrax, something most Americans had never heard of. The United States Secretary of
freaking
Health and Human
crazy.
Services at the time, Tommy Thompson, said it was an isolated case and that there was no evidence of it being
It's
a
got to be government. Who's got access to anthrax to sell it, to send it in the mail, and can handle it and not kill themselves and get it into the letters? Yeah, it's automatic on YouTube. I don't know if it's everybody. I'm a YouTube partner, so I don't know if that's why it happens or not. But I didn't have it
politically
before I was
motivated
partner.
attack. But then more letters surfaced, including one sent to senators. And one of these letters literally said, "We have this anthrax." When Senate intern Grant Leslie opened one of the letters, the powder burst across her clothes. A lot of people assume the letters were destroyed.
How's
but
she?
They weren't.
How's
After
she
they were
opening the? How's she opening the letters to throw all over her clothes? She just like. That's freaking open letters gently, I suppose. This is a Jewish head. I'm not Jewish, brother. You're wrong. Yep. Nope. Not Jewish.
Contaminated, the FBI eventually
Take another
allowed
guess.
the
One more
Smithsonian's
guess.
National Postal Museum to take a few of them. You can see them now. They weren't sitting in a display case all this time. They've been locked away for years.
This is the head of a skateboarder that used to skate ramp. Broke that some bit. Whole bunch of times. But close. No, not Polish.
Wanted the public anywhere near them. When Howard Carter
guess I
cracked
did.
open King Tut's tomb in 1922, he found all the gold and jewels, but among the treasure were 2 trumpets, one bronze, one silver. Like everything associated with King Tut, there was a dark legend attached to them. Supposedly, if you played them, war would follow, but it was just folklore, right? In 1939, the BBC decided to
this is cool.
broadcast the trumpets over the air live.
Now I'm a
During
mutt,
rehearsals,
dude.
the
Like
silver
I've got my on my dad's side, my dad's mom, has got some family from Poland. My grandfather's got some family from Germany. My mom's side, I've got family from Barbados and family from. I only know as far back as my great grandmother, which was Florida, and grandfather was Georgia. Yeah, East European. He deaf farted out of the trumpets. What up, Magic Cat? Egyptian trumpet toots.
One
Start
fell
wars.
and shattered.
They
when someone
stink
tried to
so
fit a
bad
modern
they'll start
mouthpiece
wars.
on it. Pieces flew everywhere, and Alfred Lucas, one of the original archaeologists, randomly collapsed. On the way to the studio, the broadcast engineer nearly got hit by a runaway horse, of all things, and the power went out
Always
just
a
before
runaway
the show.
horse.
Instead of calling it off, though, the broadcast went ahead using candles to light the music sheet for the performer. Well, months later, Germany invaded Poland. World War II
Poland.
had begun.
It's so easy to become
No,
a
I'm not
podcaster
Jewish.
with Riverside. You just need a concept and a way to record it.
Gary.
Here's how it works. First, go to riverside.com.
In 1967, a museum guard blew the
6'7".
silver trumpet for testing, and the Six-Day War broke out between Israel and its neighbors.
Israel.
In 1990, it was played again, right before the Gulf War, and in 2011, someone sounded one, and the Egyptian
That makes
Revolution
2 of
kicked
us.
off.
What
a
up,
week
T-shirt,
later.
brother?
Trumpets are currently locked away in the Egyptian Museum. If you ever end up in Sydney, Australia, and you're the type who likes grossing yourself out, I guess, the Museum of Human Disease at the University of New South
jeez.
Wales is the place
Me
for
three,
you.
that
This
makes
place
3 of
is
us.
filled top to bottom with real human organs, preserved lungs, hearts, brains, all of them belonging to people who died of some gnarly disease. You're literally looking at what cancer did to someone's liver, or what a lifetime of smoking
shit.
does to a set of
Nah,
lungs.
he's an English
Every
actor
jar
from
and
Kong
display
Skull
has
Island,
these
putting on a
simple
fake
labels
American
that
accent.
explain what
Adrian
happened,
Brody.
what caused it.
Adrian Brody. Not Korean. Yeah, I used to get this a lot. Bam. Brody. Oops.
And
2 million Palestinians that all joined the Israeli Defense Force and are not Jewish either. They are Israelis, but they are very sneaky. About 70 nations. Dun, 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 dun.
Not a place for people with sensitive stomachs. In Florence, Italy, there's a natural history museum called La Spicola. It's the oldest public science
Spicola.
museum in Europe, dating back to 1775. But most people come here for one thing, the anatomical wax models. These are hyper-realistic sculptures of human anatomy created in the 18th and 19th centuries. Full-sized figures
18th and 19th century. Hyper-realistic wax models. Or they're probably wax-encased dead people. I'm back. What up, Gene, brother?
with every muscle, vein, and organ perfectly sculpted in wax.
Yeah,
Some are
right.
posed like they're sleeping, others cut open to show internal organs. They're beautiful, deeply unsettling at the same
nerve.
time. These models
up,
were
Jim,
created
brother?
using beeswax mixed with dyes, turpentine, and sometimes
real.
gold dust to get the colors just right. The problem is wax is incredibly fragile. It melts. The museum has to keep the temperature very controlled. A
It's a
power
great reason
outage
for
in
air
summer
conditioning.
could be catastrophic. There's
And they had the live autopsy theaters back then. Yep. They called it education. I
also
think
the
they just wanted to
question
cut
of
people
what
open.
else is in these models? Some of the older wax formulas included mercury and other toxic substances. 1966, a flood damaged a bunch of these pieces, and restorers spent years carefully cleaning and
Or
repairing
finding
them. The
replacement
Smithsonian in
bodies.
Washington, D.C. is one of the most famous museums in the world, but it also has some legitimately dangerous stuff tucked away in storage. Not what you'd think either. It's old watches, airplane instrument
Airhead
panels,
shark.
lab equipment. The thing is, it's all coated in radium paint. In the early 1900s, radium was used all the time. It glowed in the dark, so they used it in clocks, gauges, some old medical tools. Nobody understood how deadly it was yet.
Radium girls.
Factory workers,
The jaws
mostly
fell
women
off.
who later became known as radium girls, would even lick their brushes to get a finer
they
point
would
while
point it.
painting with radium. A lot of them got sick and died from radiation poisoning. Now, those same objects are sitting in lead-lined storage at the Smithsonian. The conservation team uses Geiger counters before handling anything. And some pieces are
See,
safe enough to
they're like-
display
they're like,
for
wh-
short
why,
periods,
why
but
even use it? So they're going to use the Geiger counter before handling it, but still handle it? They're like, oh shit, this is super radioactive. That's when the grave robbers used to steal and dig up bodies. Yeah, right. They were parties that they had. Listen, we humans have been here for a long time. We've been cutting into each other for a long time. They didn't need to do that. And look, they had wax representations for a long time. So they just did it because they wanted to do it.
others are giving off radiation levels that just can't be near the public. There's also a stash of uranium glass and radium health products that were sold to people back in the
Radium
day.
health
Radioactive
products.
water,
Radioactive-
radium
yeah, I was gonna say
suppositories,
radon water.
all kinds of insane stuff marketed as cures.
It was
Yeah,
sexy.
early science, it was pretty reckless. We were playing with things we just didn't understand.
They still do.
In a lot of museums, deep in storage, there's stuff that could actually hurt you if it wasn't handled properly. This place looks charming when you first walk in, with its vintage wood cabinets and old medicine bottles. The aesthetic is perfect, so much so that people
I
have
like
weddings
playing
here.
with things
It's
I
funny
don't
when you think about what's
understand.
actually
Yes,
inside
tomato,
those
brother.
bottles,
The
though.
glowing
The New
past.
Orleans Pharmacy Museum preserves 19th century apothecary history, which means they've got
here's the
shelves
coke and here's the morphine. Look. Yep, still good.
full of legitimate poisons: arsenic, mercury chloride, laudanum, which is
I accidentally spilled all of this. Can we get a refill for the museum?
It's basically liquid opium that was sold over the counter. Some of the liquids in those bottles are original, like they've been sitting there since the 1800s. The museum keeps certain cabinets locked or sealed in glass
Keep
because
them
the
locked.
powders have crystallized over time, and disturbing them could be dangerous. There's also a whole section on voodoo cures and love potions that were laced with narcotics. The museum is basically a preserved poison
Quality.
shop. One of the curators
Yep.
joked that if an old bottle broke, they'd have to evacuate the building, which I guess wasn't really technically a joke. At the British Museum in London, you'll find the Unlucky Mummy. It's not an actual mummy, it's a painted wooden coffin lid from an ancient Egyptian priestess who lived somewhere around 950 BCE. But for over 100 years, people have blamed it for deaths, accidents, financial ruin, all kinds of misfortune. This thing was even partially blamed for the sinking of the Titanic. It was first found in Thebes in the 1800s. Early collectors who owned it reported weird streaks of bad luck.
Listen, this stuff is usually bullshit. Usually, just like Piltdown, man, people made fake wax stuff and fake wooden stuff to say, oh, they rubbed dirt on it, they dug it. Like if they were out in the Middle East somewhere and digging up trying to find something and didn't find anything, or they found some pottery, they would make things like this, dig it, bury it, and then dig it up in front of everybody, and then they would be the owners of it, so then they would sell it for thousands of dollars. This happened all the time in the 1800s. Yeah, right. To cure a cough, the final opponents of the Federal Reserve were all on the Titanic. Yep, that's right. That's a very interesting. So it was the Astors. The Rockefellers and the Astors were supposed to have a meeting on the Titanic. The Rockefellers decided to cancel last minute, and the Astors continued on.
1890s London ran with it, turning the coffin lid into this cursed
an
object.
iceberg.
The museum eventually put it behind glass. Even now, though, some visitors refuse to take photos of it, afraid something will happen to them. Also in London is the Hunterian Museum, which had the skeleton of a man named Charles Byrne on display for over 200 years. Now, Charles Byrne was known as the Irish Giant. He was 7'7" and became a public spectacle in 18th century London. But before he died in 1783, he made it.
Listen. How would you forget the binoculars? They only had one pair of binoculars to take on the Titanic for the entire maiden voyage, and they left them behind. And they didn't have 700 other pairs all throughout the Titanic, even for people to use during like opera and plays and stuff that happened. No, right. Yeah, there was 0 binoculars on site, and they just figured they would look out for it. Yeah, I agree.
Very clear that he did not want to be dissected or put on display. He was terrified of ending up in a museum. And they were like, screw that, we're putting you on display at a museum.
And look how he's got all of his
Jean
teeth.
Hunter bribed someone to get Burns' body and had it preserved for his collection. And for 2 centuries, Burns' skeleton stood behind glass, part of the museum's medical exhibit. Then in 2017, the museum finally decided to take it down. They said it was never theirs to display in the first place, and keeping it up, of course.
So they had this dude's dead body that they didn't actually own, and they were putting it on display for people to come pay for an admission to come see some dude's body that wasn't even theirs to begin with. It wasn't even, well, it's not actually ours. We've just had it for 200 years.
Burns' wishes. Medieval manuscripts still around, and it's nicknamed the Devil's Bible because of this full-page illustration of Satan inside it. Legend goes that a monk wrote the entire thing in one night after making a pact with the devil to avoid execution. It's now kept in the National Library of Sweden under tight environmental controls.
Yes, right. So this is just a loop of that. The fentanyl wars are just a upkeep from the same thing. Chinese supplying opium to the world, the Dutch supplying opium to the world, and then now that stopped for a little while, then it became heroin, it died down for a while, then it became fentanyl, and then now that's supposedly dying down again. But it's the same thing, another opium-based product.
They barely handle the thing. Visitors can see it through glass or look at digital scans, but actually touching the book is limited to a handful of experts. Not only is the book a delicate artifact, but the inks and tanning agents used in the binding contain toxins that can damage skin. So, in a way, this supposedly cursed book sort of
Well, that's
lives up to the
probably a
legend.
good
And
idea.
of
If
course,
it's written on skin, if the pages are animal skin, then you would want something that would damage the skin to permanently indel it.
we gotta talk about the Warren Occult Museum. It's not open to the public anymore, but the collection is still there, and it's full of items from actual cases Ed and Lorraine Warren worked on. There's all sorts of stuff here. A cursed piano that supposedly plays by itself, haunted paintings, shrunken heads, vampire coffins, and of course, the most infamous item in the museum is Annabelle the doll. But she's not the creepy porcelain doll from the movies.
Yeah.
The real Annabelle is just a Raggedy Ann doll, like the kind you'd find at a garage sale, which somehow makes it worse.
I had a
Annabelle in the
Raggedy
movies is
Ann
just
and
so
Andy
over the
doll.
top looking.
Dolls.
But the doll's been sitting behind glass for decades with a sign that says positively do not open. The story goes that priests had to come in and bless the room regularly because stuff would happen whenever people disrespected the doll.
And
the
now
most repeated
people
story
pay
is
an
about a
admission
guy
fee
who
to see these
kept
stories.
knocking on the glass and
How much
laughing,
people?
making
I
fun of
take
Annabelle. Then he
I take 5,000, but the average dose is for a standard high dose is 1,000 micrograms. If you look on my website, go to 110thgrade.com, you can see what I take. And if you link through that, Brianna, if you go to 110thgrade.com, click on vitamins, and then go to the B12 at the bottom. Go over to the buy from Amazon, click on that, and then when it takes you here, you can see there's options right down at the bottom for 5,000, 2,500, 1,000, 10,000. I only take 5,000. They have 10,000 doses. They have doses of 10,000, 250,000 or 2,500, 10,000, 1,000, and 5,000. So yeah, that's what I take. I take 5,000. Yeah. And it's methylated, right? Methylcobalamin. What up, Space Cow? Yeah, red bottle. Yeah, that's fine too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As long as they absorb through the mouth and they're methylated. All right. What's up, Space Cow? What you got?
Baby with the high heels on, you give me fever like I've never ever known. You're just a product of my loveliness. I like the groove of your walk, your talk, your dress. I feel your fever from miles around. I pick you up in my car and we'll beat the town. You give me, baby, and tell me twice that you're the one for me, the way you're making me feel.
The way you make me feel.
You're really turning me on.
You really turned me on.
You knock me off of my feet.
You knocked me off of my feet now, baby.
Lonely days are gone.
My lonely days are gone. He's channeling his inner Michael Jackson. Oops.
He died in a motorcycle accident that
Just
same
stop
night.
me.
on
What
the
up,
way home.
Cheryl?
Lorraine Warren
I'll
said
be
they
here.
handled the doll
What up,
like
rookie?
a loaded weapon. They wouldn't move it without saying prayers first. At the Whitby Museum in England, there's a shriveled, mummified hand kept under glass. It's what's called a Hand of Glory, a legendary
Space Cow's got a shriveled. Oh, never mind.
object made from a severed hand. Supposedly, back in medieval
I didn't
times,
swear.
thieves would
What
make
up,
these from the
Arabica?
hands of executed criminals.
Brianna,
The
I
idea
thought,
was you'd
through
light
the
the fingers
grapevine,
like candles, and supposedly everyone in the house would stay frozen asleep while you robbed them blind. Sounds ridiculous, but I mean, people believed it enough to actually make these things. The one in Whitby was found in 1935, hidden inside a wall of a cottage in Yorkshire. When they examined it, scientists confirmed that it was human. Doesn't really take a scientist to confirm that, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
somebody
just look
got
at
paid to
it.
do it.
It is eerily well
Yeah,
preserved.
brother, yeah.
What they don't know is how it was preserved, which makes it even creepier. Staff say people get uncomfortable around this thing. One curator mentioned it's the one item nobody wants to move.
It sells
when they're
tickets, though. It
rearranging
sells
exhibits.
tickets to the
Next up is
museums. People are like, "Ooh, let's pay the 30 pounds or whatever to go see the Space Cow. I've got a foot." Right.
Museum in Philadelphia. This place looks like an old library, very classy looking, but won't find shelves of old books here. This museum is macabre, to say the least. You've got jars of preserved organs, remains of conjoined twins, skulls with diseases and deformities. It is gnarly stuff, but it's also really fascinating.
Cheryl
I've checked this place
wants
out for
Brianna's
sure, but
footfinder.com.
what most visitors don't think about is that a lot of this stuff is actually hazardous. Back in the 18 and early 1900s,
Yeah, and this is
medical
the thing too.
specimens
The
were
reason
preserved using whatever.
the reason that I think they say a lot of it's hazardous is so people don't examine them. Like, oh no, it might have mercury in it. No, it's freaking clay or plastic. Brought it out of your mom's house.
Chemicals worked. Arsenic, mercury, formaldehyde. Those
Mercury.
chemicals don't just evaporate. They're still in there, still active. During some renovations, they actually had to close sections of the museum off because fumes were leaking from old jars. Just being near certain exhibits required safety measures. And then there's the biological side. Some of the tissues came from people who died of infectious diseases back when medicine didn't fully understand how they were transmitted. So there's a real question of whether any of the biological
Space
material
Cow.
could still pose a risk. The museum's been pretty upfront about it. A lot of their collection isn't even on display because it's either too fragile or too
Too fake.
dangerous. Delbridge Museum of Natural History in Sioux Falls,
Like, that's
South
a
Dakota.
real elephant.
In 2023,
That's
this
a real
museum
water
suddenly
buffalo.
shut down. They locked the doors and sealed off the taxidermy wing. Turns out the taxidermy animals on display were dangerous, contaminated
Mercury.
with arsenic and other
Arsenic.
poisons.
Mercury.
See, back in the early 1900s, taxidermists would soak animals' hides in arsenic soap to keep bugs from eating them. It worked great. Problem is, a century later, you've got displays that are basically toxic. The Great Plains Zoo, which sits right next to the museum,
It's
tested the collection and found
footfinder.com/your-mom. I love you guys.
trying to clean or restore these things would just release carcinogenic dust into the air. So they made the call to just lock it all away and eventually dispose of it all. Nobody thought twice about standing right next to a mounted bison or elk. Kids probably touched the display cases. The whole time, there were harmful chemicals in the air. In
They're
Maryland,
like,
you'll find the National
it was smoking that was giving everybody cancer.
Museum of Health and Medicine. There are rows of shelves with preserved organs, deformities, amputated limbs, body parts from Civil War soldiers.
I just
Some of it's
noticed
viewable,
Grandpa
but a
changed his
huge
profile
portion
picture.
is
That's
locked
right.
away in
I done
storage,
did.
and there's a few reasons for that. First, a lot of these specimens are still sitting in their original 19th century preservation chemicals. Again, stuff that gives off harmful vapors if the seals break
I
down.
got the
Staff
vapors.
work in ventilated areas with
This
protective
is in
gear.
the last one was Washington D.C.
Air. Touch the display cases. The whole time, there were harmful chemicals in the air. In Maryland, you'll find the
Maryland.
National Museum of Health and Medicine. There are
That's
rows
where
of
I'm
shelves with preserved organs, deformities, amputated limbs, body parts from Civil War soldiers. Some of it's viewable, but a huge portion is locked away in storage, and there's a few reasons for that. First, a lot of these specimens are still sitting in their original 19th century preservation chemicals. Again, stuff that gives off harmful vapors if the seals break down. Staff work in ventilated areas with protective gear because just being around old jars can be a health risk. But there's also the ethical side. Some of the specimens were collected at a time where standards were not what they are today. Fetuses, body parts taken without proper consent.
This is
Museums
dangerous artifacts museums keep locked away.
rethinking what should even be displayed anymore. But don't worry, there are still tons to see. Bits of human remains from autopsies, battlefield recoveries, and medical experiments. The Ring of Sylvanus is an old Roman gold ring.
The Ring of
from around
Uranus.
medical experiments. The Ring of Sylvanus is an old Roman gold ring from around the 300 CE. It was found in a farm field near Silchester.
He looks so good in this new pic. Thank you, Brianna. Hello, Sim.
England somewhere before the late
That's why I put it
1700s.
up.
It eventually ended up at a country house called the Vine, where it's kept today. The ring is big, heavy, bigger than most rings, and has a name carved into it. That name is Seneschenius. Not far away, at a completely different Roman site in Lydney, archaeologists found something else, a thin sheet of lead with a curse
I used to
etched
fly
into
to
it. The
DC
curse
in
was
the
written
early
by a man
2000s.
named
The
Sylvanus,
Holocaust
who
was
said
over
his
long
ring
ago.
had been stolen. He asked the
Thank
god
you,
Nodens to
Brianna.
punish the thief until
working.
the ring was returned, naming Seneschenius directly, asking that he be made sick until he gave the ring back. So you have a ring with Seneschenius' name on it and a curse calling for him to suffer because of a stolen ring. No one can prove beyond doubt that this exact ring is the one mentioned in the curse, but it certainly seems like it. All right, so the Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana
Yeah,
isn't
Brianna's
technically a
number one
museum.
hype
It's a
man.
historic site, but does contain antiques and artifacts that the public can visit. And one of the
hype
creepiest
man.
items here is known as the Cursed Mirror. The plantation was built in 1796 and has a long reputation for strange activity, but the mirror
So,
is where a lot of the
Louisiana.
stories seem to concentrate. Legend goes back to the 1800s when the home was owned by Clark and Sarah Woodruff. The story goes that a woman named Chloe, who was enslaved at the plantation, poisoned the family. Sarah and two of her children died. After their deaths, the mirror in the house was said to be left uncovered during the mourning period. At the time, covering mirrors was meant to prevent spirits from being
Yeah, I
trapped
think
in
that's
them.
what it
So
is.
because that's not the
I think
skip,
he
the
should grow a
spirits are
goatee.
said to be locked inside the glass. And ever since,
1-877
people have claimed to
cars
see
for
the figures
kids.
of a woman and children appearing
That's your
in it.
state?
A specific handprint also repeatedly shows up on it, even after the mirror has been thoroughly cleaned. The South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Italy houses one of the most cursed items in the world. High up in the Ötztal Alps in northern Italy, more than 5,000 years ago, a man was shot in the back with an arrow and left to die in the ice. Today, we know him as Ötzi the Iceman, one of the oldest, most well-preserved mummies ever found. Scientists have been fascinated with him ever since
Yes.
his discovery in 1991. And fans of the paranormal have
Why
been too.
would you think I
'cause
didn't
some
know
say
it? I
Ötzi-
know almost everything. No goatee. I think it'd make him look creepy. I think all goatees look creepy. Yeah, I do look creepy with a goatee. I've got a
He is
picture
cursed.
probably. I probably can
Rainer
find one.
Henn, head of the forensic team who handled Ötzi when he was first pulled from the ice, died in a car crash in 1992 while on his way
Oh,
to
stop
give a
messing with his
lecture about
legs.
the find. Then there's Kurt Fritz, the mountaineer who led Henn to the body. He died in an avalanche. Not long after, the journalist who filmed the excavation, Rainer Holzel, died of a brain tumor at just 47. One of the eeriest cases was Helmut
Yeah.
Simon, one of the tourists who originally found Ötzi. He died in 2004, frozen in the Alps, almost in the same
He
spot
died in 2004 of COVID-19. Jeez. That's right. That's how I stir my paint, brother.
as the discovery. And just within an hour of his funeral, Dieter Warnick, the head of the rescue team, died of a heart attack. Even Conrad Spindler, the archaeologist
Conrad
who
Spindler.
scoffed at the curse, passed away from complications related to multiple sclerosis. And Dr. Tom Loy, who carried out Ötzi's DNA analysis, died at 63 before finishing a book he was writing. So yeah, I mean, I'm not one to really believe in curses, but I don't want to go anywhere near that guy. Well, who would have thunk there'd be haunted artifacts in a place called the Medieval Torment Museum? You know what the word actually is. YouTube. Anyway, this creepy museum in Chicago has all the dark stuff you'd expect to see. Torment racks, chains, spikes, all devices designed to seriously hurt people. But for a lot of visitors, the creepiest thing
What
isn't
up,
the
Scott,
iron
brother?
wood. It's
Legend
the
is
feeling
live.
that something
Make sure you
else
drop a
is
sub for a
watching.
chance to like
Over
the
time, a few of the
stream.
museum's
And Bobby
pieces have
Bro.
built up reputations with stories of hauntings and strange
Yeah, brother.
goings
Sometimes.
on. Take the iron
We
chair,
gotta teach
for
the
example.
people about
People say that
everything.
just standing near it gives them chills.
You
Some
forgot
say they
you
can
crashed
almost
it.
hear screams.
That can happen.
The
That can
executioner's mask, once worn by the people who carried out death sentences. Some visitors claim it feels like the person who wore it is still there, lurking in the room. Not to mention all the ghostly shadows people see lurking around.
We gotta
the
start
place.
a freaking
If
museum.
you've ever been freaked out by
Nose
dolls, this
museum.
next story isn't going to make it any easier. Meet Mandy, the haunted doll at the Quennell Museum in British Columbia,
Oh,
who has
I've
her
got
own
one.
locked
I've got
cabinet
one.
and a
I've got
sign
one of
warning
those
visitors
old
not to use
dolls
flashlights.
that are made out of like I can't remember. It's not ceramic. It might be ceramic, like plaster of Paris. And when you lay it backwards, the eyes close, and like it's got those big bright blue eyes. I'll pull it out one day. You just looked into my soul, Annabelle. No, we saw Annabelle earlier. Annabelle was in earlier. Annabelle's actually a Raggedy Ann doll, which I had also. Or my sister did. I think I had Andy. It's cold, man, here in Holland, like 8 degrees Celsius. Man, not here, brother. Not here. Current temperature 25 C. And it's at 7 p.m. right now, 7 minutes after 7. Deep voice. I did. I did. I'll let me see if I can find it. It'll probably take me forever, but I could probably have to go upstairs. I can. I'll bring it for tomorrow's stream.
Mandy arrived at the museum in 1991 after her previous
I should
owner
grab it.
found her
All right, hold on. Oh, I know. Never mind. You're sneezing your ass off. 607.
in a box of her grandmother's things. She was supposed to be a gift for a newborn, but the woman couldn't handle it. The doll had been locked in the chest for who knows how long, and the woman reportedly heard crying coming from the chest before deciding Mandy was just too creepy to keep around. Once she came to the museum, the weird activity didn't stop. Staff and visitors have reported all kinds of strange things. One night, a staff member left Mandy in the lab overnight to photograph her, and when they came back, the room looked like a toddler had thrown a tantrum. Another time, a reporter working in the museum basement heard footsteps above him, while his equipment suddenly went haywire. Visitors trying to film or photograph Mandy often have their cameras glitch out. Even small, harmless toys around Mandy don't stay put. Once a stuffed lamb that was given to her to keep her company was found outside her locked cabinet the next morning. Brighton's Preston Manor is already known as one of England's spookiest historic houses. But in 2015, they received a shop ledger dating back to 1915. The book was donated by Josephine Benyovitz, who, along with her father Tony, had been haunted by the ledger ever since he discovered it in 1988. Tony found it bricked up in the wall of a closed jewelry shop during a demolition, but what seemed like a simple old account book quickly became anything but ordinary.
That was
Josephine
too much for
said
you,
that after bringing the ledger home, she started
here.
seeing ghostly images in her rug. One spirit reportedly told her that the book needed to be returned to Brighton, the Preston Manor, exactly.
You never know how it ends.
100 years after it was first written in December of 1915. Terrified, the family delivered it immediately. A medium who examined the book later said it emanated bad things. And since then, it's joined Preston Manor's long line of ghosts, like the Lady in White and the Gray Lady, who are said to glide down the stairs or vanish into walls. Out of Covington, Kentucky, there's a traveling collection of haunted and cursed objects run by Greg Newkirk and Dana Matthews. They call it the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult. Instead of keeping everything locked behind glass in one building, they take the collection on the road for people to see. Greg and Dana have been investigating strange cases for about 20 years. They run the site Planet Weird and have spent years collecting objects tied to reported paranormal activity. Some came from their own investigations, others were handed over by people who just didn't want these items in their homes anymore. Rather than store all of them away, they decided to show them off. A few items get most of the attention. There's the Idol of Nightmares, nicknamed Billy, which was found hidden under a house. The family who had it for a while experienced all kinds of weird stuff, mostly violent nightmares and physical disturbances. There's also a black scrying mirror where people report disturbing visions and weird physical sensations after looking into it. But the Crone of the Catskills is easily one of the scariest pieces in the museum, for good reason. It's a hand-carved wooden statue, its eyes pierced with nails and a noose carved around its neck. It was found in a cave in the Catskill Mountains. The hikers who found it brought it home. They started to experience some unsettling things. They'd hear strange knocks, they'd see shadow figures creeping around their home, and then there was this constant stench of stagnant water. When they finally saw a full-blown apparition of a ghostly crone, they said enough was enough and got rid of the thing. Of course, it ended up with Greg and Dana, who say nobody is allowed near it. This is the only item in their collection that stays locked away.
Right, you got to keep the what you call going. I'm eating chapstick. Don't eat chapstick, you wackadoodle.
Conjured chest, sometimes called the death chest, is a wooden chest from the 1800s. It's now kept at the Kentucky History Museum in Frankfurt. The story behind it goes back to the 1830s. It was made in Kentucky by an enslaved man named Remus for his owner, Jeremiah Graham. The story goes, Remus was forced to build the chest. Of course, he was never paid or acknowledged for it. Supposedly, he placed a curse on it meant to follow anyone who took ownership of it. The first death tied to the chest is said to have
Chicken
happened
flavored.
inside the Graham house. Graham's son was placed in it. He was later found dead. As the chest was passed to other owners, stories of death and misfortune followed. People claimed family members fell ill suddenly, died in accidents, or were killed under
Probably
strange
painted with,
circumstances.
it's the
Some say the
brown
chest was responsible
poop
for at least
flavored.
16 deaths over
What's
the
up,
years.
Plus, brother?
Next up is the Cursed Stela, an ancient stone monument that was originally one piece, but it's been split in half for
Stela,
well
yeah,
over
yeah,
100
yeah,
years.
yeah.
One half was recorded in Syria in 1879 and eventually ended up in the British Museum, where it still sits today. The other half showed up in
Stela.
London decades later
Stela.
and was auctioned off. In 2014, the British Museum had the option to buy that second half, but they didn't. Part of their hesitation was that no one could clearly explain how the lower half left Syria. Was there looting involved? And on top of that, the inscription carved into it basically says anyone who moves the image of the god Salmanu, hides it, or pushes it somewhere forbidden will be punished. Salmanu will strip away their power, erase
And
their
it
name and
tastes like
family, and leave
wax.
them living in disgrace. Bringing
Yes,
it
he
to a
did.
museum
Yes, he
far from its
did.
home
I
already
turned into
counts
him.
as
He
breaking
turned
the
into
rule
me.
and putting the two
Yes,
halves
he turned
together
into
in
me.
London. Well, they think it might have doubled the risk. So
He's
between the
famous.
legal questions and the curse, the museum just decided it wasn't worth it.
Websites your competitors don't want you to know, part 2.
All you do is go to this website,
Oh, shut
and it lets you find out.
Vigango statues come from the Miji Kenda people along the coast of Kenya. They were never meant to leave. Each one is carved after the death of a respected male elder and is believed to carry that person's spirit. Families use them to stay connected to their ancestors. In the 80s, more than 300 of these statues were stolen, though. Thieves took them straight
Oh,
from sacred
come
land
on.
and sold
Look
them
at
to
that
tourists
freaking
and art
fake
dealers.
art.
From there, the statues ended up in galleries, private collections, and museums across the U.S. and Europe. A bunch were sold by American art dealer Ernie Wolf III,
Who
said he
made
believed the
them in
statues
his
were
wood
legally
shop.
acquired and no longer
I'm half
spiritually
the
active,
man.
which of course wasn't true. After the thefts,
No.
elders blamed the missing statues for illness, failing crops, and dying animals. Even outside Kenya, museum staff and collectors started
No,
reporting
no,
their
no.
own issues: accidents, financial problems, disturbing dreams, a constant feeling of dread. Some said they heard voices actually telling them to send the statues back. So some museums did start returning them, but there's still a lot of them scattered around the world. Down in Key West, Florida, there is a Civil War fort that's been turned into a museum, and inside that
Robert
museum is what
the
many
doll.
consider the most haunted
funny
doll
story,
in America.
like
His name is
from
Robert,
Serbia, and
a
people
seemingly
were buying him,
regular-looking
got cursed,
stuffed
also
doll
some
made
death.
in
Yeah,
Germany
funny story.
around
What up,
1904. Looks like he came straight out of your grandma's attic, but don't let that fool you. This doll has a reputation that's gotten him featured on every paranormal show you can think of. The story goes that Robert was given to a boy named Gene Otto when he was a kid in Key West. Gene became obsessed with the doll. He'd talk to it for hours, and his parents swore they'd sometimes hear two different voices coming from his room. Neighbors reported seeing Robert move from window to window when the family was out. Furniture would be found overturned in Gene's room, and every time, Gene would say the same thing: Robert did it. After Gene died in 1974, the doll ended up in
Tell
the
your
attic.
mom.
The new owners had a younger
parents.
daughter who claimed
Don't
Robert
they
tried to
make a
attack
movie
her
on
multiple
it?
times.
Didn't I-
In 1994,
probably. I've never
Robert was
heard-
donated to the
probably,
Fort
though.
East Martello Museum, and to this day,
Placebo,
people say that
probably.
cameras and
Real
electronics
placebo.
malfunction around him. Most staff won't go near
I
him
mean,
alone, and
they
they get letters
exist.
all the time from people writing to apologize to Robert for disrespecting him, begging him to lift whatever curse he put on them. At University College London, there's a small museum called the Grant Museum of Zoology. It's packed with thousands of preserved specimens, everything from tiny insects to whole animal skeletons, but the real concern
Hold on.
isn't
Oh,
what's
okay.
in the jars, it's what the jars are filled with. Most of these specimens have been sitting in formaldehyde or ethanol for over a century. Formaldehyde, we talked about earlier, it's a known carcinogen, and ethanol, when stored improperly, is highly flammable. The museum's most famous exhibit is a jar containing 18 moles, all crammed together and preserved in
Jeez.
industrial methylated spirit, which is 95%
Yeah,
ethanol
I heard.
and 5%
Make sure you get
methanol.
bromelain.
Staff have
Make
to be
sure you get
extremely
yourself some
careful when
bromelain.
handling it. If those old seals break down, well, you have toxic fumes leaking into the air. They've also got the Negus collection There's a bunch of animal heads that were cut in half to show the larynx. Those are preserved in formalin, a mixture
So
of
if your
formaldehyde
emotions
and
can
water.
have a metaphysical
Museums
effect
with
on
collections
identifying
like this
them,
have very
can
strict
be in a
protocols.
bad
Staff wear
way.
protective
Some
gear,
weirdo
they work in ventilated
put
areas,
a curse
and they
on
use
me for
Geiger
one day,
counters
freaking
if they
me
think
out.
any
He was speaking in
specimens
tongues, nothing
might be
happened to me.
radioactive.
Maybe
There's a
maybe you're
town
still
in Quebec,
cursed.
Canada that used to be called Asbestos.
here you go.
In 2020,
Canada.
they changed the name because, I mean, who the hell wants to live in a place called asbestos? But for over a century, this
COVID
town
2
was
times
home
a
to the
month.
Jeffrey Mine, one of the largest asbestos mines in the world. And they have a museum dedicated to it. The Asbestos Mineral Museum sits right next to the old mine, which is now just a massive water-filled crater. Inside the museum, though, they've got samples of
I agree.
Prysotyl asbestos,
I agree. I
which
think
was once
mental
called the
health
miracle
and
fiber
evil
because
is
it's
real.
heat-resistant, it's strong, it was used in thousands of products. The thing is, asbestos fibers are microscopic and they're sharp. When you breathe them in, they pierce your lungs and they don't come out. Over time, that's obviously
They
not
get
good.
calcified.
Could lead to mesothelioma, which is an aggressive cancer. The museum displays raw asbestos samples, mining equipment, and products that use to contain it. Staff have to be extremely careful, though, as any
we
disturbance
Canadians
to the
still sell
samples
asbestos to
could
India.
release fibers
Wow.
into the air. And now
You get
we head
stressed,
back to the
yeah.
Science Museum of Minnesota, where there's also
You
a
gotta make
collection
sure you're
called the
getting the
Museum
proper
of
amount of
Questionable
vitamin
Medical
B12
Devices.
and vitamin
It's
D.
full
Make
of
sure
these
you're getting a lot of
bizarre,
sunlight.
terrifying, and completely ineffective
made
medical
paper
equipment
spears
from
when I
back
was
in
a
the
kid.
day. There's a machine that claims to diagnose your personality by measuring bumps on your head. There's an electric therapy chair that was supposed to cure constipation by just violently rattling
It
you.
shocks the shit out of you. An electric chair that cures
And then
constipation.
the chair knows your personality by measuring bumps on your head. There's an electric therapy chair that was supposed to cure constipation by just violently rattling you. And then there's the X-ray shoe fitter. This thing was used in shoe stores in the 1920s
That's
all the way
funny.
through the 70s.
That's funny.
You'd put your feet into a machine. It would take an X-ray so you and the salesperson could see how your feet fit inside the shoes. I mean, it sounds convenient, except these machines were constantly leaking radiation. Customers
That's
were getting
funny,
blasted with
dude.
X-rays every time they used it, and people used it a lot. They'd stick their feet in multiple times just because it was kind of cool to see your bones. By the 70s, most states had banned them,
The
but one was still being
70s.
used in West Virginia in 1981.
Yeah, they
the
did.
museum's X-ray shoe fitter is sealed
Lobotomized
behind
them, too.
plexiglass now because even decades later, it's still giving off low levels of radiation.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter, the search engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what
There
it
you
does.
go. You
First
guys
of all, big
conservatives,
tech.
get up in there.
In Las Vegas,
Get you one.
paranormal investigator Zach Baggins runs a museum full of allegedly haunted and cursed objects. But the crown jewel of the collection is probably the Dybbuk box. It's a small wooden wine cabinet about 12 inches tall, and it's considered by many to be the most haunted object in the world. The story starts
Every
in
time I open it, I
2003.
get
when a
drunk.
guy named Kevin Manis bought the box at an estate sale in Portland. He claimed it belonged to a Holocaust
Bilbo,
survivor
yeah,
who said it
Bilbo
contained
Baggins.
a Dybbuk, which in Jewish folklore is a malicious spirit that possesses people. Inside the box were some strange items: 2 old pennies, locks of hair, a dried rosebud, a small golden goblet, and a granite slab with shalom carved into it. Manis said that as soon as he bought the box home, weird things started to happen. Nightmares, unexplained smells. His mother had a stroke shortly after touching it. He tried to give it away, but nobody wanted it, so he sold it on eBay. The next owner reported their hair falling out, having hives, coughing up blood. Then Jason Haxton, a museum curator, bought it and wrote a whole book about his experiences with the box. He claimed it made him sick, and that he had to consult rabbis to figure out how to contain it. 2016, he donated it to Zach Baggins. Post Malone visited the museum and was there when Baggins touched the box for the first time. Post touched Baggins' shoulder
was there when
while
he
he
touched
was
it for
holding
the
it.
first
Shortly
time.
after, Post's plane had to make an emergency landing when the tires blew out. His Rolls Royce got in a serious accident. His house was robbed. The box is still on display at Baggins Museum, and people still report feeling sick or uneasy around it. Iceland is full of weird museums, apparently. There's one in a public toilet dedicated to punk music. There's a museum of witchcraft. And then there's the Icelandic Phallological Museum, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the world's only museum dedicated to collecting private parts from every male mammal species. There are over 300 specimens. The collection includes everything from a hamster dong that you need a magnifying glass to see, a 170 centimeter section of a sperm whale dingus that weighs nearly 155 pounds, and it's displayed in a giant glass tube filled with formaldehyde. Most of the specimens are preserved in formaldehyde or dried and mounted on walls, but formaldehyde is toxic, of course. Prolonged exposure causes respiratory issues, skin irritation, and it's been linked to cancer. The museum has to carefully control temperature and ventilation because if those seals break, you've got toxic fumes filling the building. The founder started the collection in 1974 after friends gave him a bull's junk as a joke, and he spent decades collecting specimens of whales, seals, polar bears, and eventually in 2011, even a human donor. The museum gets about 70,000 visitors a year. The Science Museum of Minnesota keeps a lot of its more dangerous items in the back, away from visitors. One of the main things they don't put on display is a snakeskin quiver from the Chachi people of Ecuador. Inside it are thin darts that were traditionally coated in curare, a poison that can paralyze you by shutting down your muscles. The darts are old, but the museum has them carefully stored away because nobody really wants to take chances with something that was designed to instantly drop an animal. They also have a shark tooth spear, a wooden pole lined with real shark teeth, sharp enough to slice skin with barely any pressure. Staff say these kinds of weapons are hard to handle because you can cut yourself just by picking them up the wrong way. So they keep it wrapped and secured in storage. Another item that never makes it to the public exhibits is a preserved green mamba. Even though the snake has been dead for years, the species is known for having one of the most dangerous venoms in Africa. It's just safer for everyone if it stays in the research labs in the back. In St. Joseph, Missouri, there's a museum housed in an old mental hospital. It's called the Glore Psychiatric Museum, and it's one of the most disturbing places you can visit. The museum was founded in 1968 by George Glore, who worked at the Missouri State Hospital for over 40 years. He wanted to show people how far mental health treatment had come by displaying all the barbaric stuff that they used in the past. And when I say barbaric, I do mean it. There are full-size replicas of devices like the tranquilizer chair, which strapped patients down so leeches could be applied to their skin. There's the bath of surprise, which involved plunging patients into ice-cold water. A lot of them drowned. There's the lunatic box, a wooden cage barely big enough to stand in. And then there's a giant treadmill where patients were forced to walk for up to 48 hours straight. The museum also has real equipment from the 20th century, electric shock devices, lobotomy tools, restraint belts, ice picks used for lobotomies. One exhibit shows 1,446 nails, pins, screws, and buttons that were surgically removed from a patient's stomach. Another shows a TV that a patient stuffed with over 500 handwritten notes because he thought a television would transmit them to God. The Imperial War Museum in London has a lot of weapons and wartime objects, including some that are still dangerous. Right in the atrium, there's a V-2 rocket from the 40s. During the war, these things destroyed huge chunks of London. One landed just yards from where the rocket sits now, destroying an apartment building and killing 43 people in 1945. Between September 1944 and March 1945, more than 1,000 of these things were fired at Britain. Tens of thousands of workers died just making the rockets and their explosives before any of them even left Germany. And thousands more were killed or injured when the missiles hit, of course. The rocket at the museum was brought over in 1946 and is almost 46 feet tall, stretching close to the ceiling. It's safe now, but seeing it up close does give you a sense of just how destructive it was. At the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum in New York, they've got green wallpaper from the 1830s. Back then, green would fade or turn brown, but in 1775, a chemist named Carl Wilhelm Scheele came up with a pigment that stayed bright. The museum's sample from 1836 used that pigment. Thing is, it's loaded with arsenic. Gregory Heringshaw, the museum's curator for wall coverings, explains that the danger mostly comes from handling it, saying the toxins are released mostly when they're rolled or unrolled or when you're pasting the back, which adds moisture. That moisture sets off chemical reactions that release the arsenic into the air. The wallpaper isn't on display. It's carefully wrapped and stored at consistent humidity. The Hope Diamond is one of the most famous, or rather infamous, gems in the world. It's this massive 45-carat diamond that's been owned by kings, stolen during the French Revolution, and eventually ended up at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. It's said to be cursed. Legend says anyone who owns or wears it will be met with tragedy. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette owned it. We all know what happened to them. The diamond was then stolen during the French Revolution and disappeared for 20 years. When it showed back up in England, it passed through several hands, and almost every one of them went bankrupt or faced some kind of awful disaster. One American socialite, Evelyn Walsh McLean, bought it in 1911. Her son died in a car accident. Her daughter overdosed. Her husband left her and died at a mental institution. After she died in 1947, the diamond was found in a shoebox in her bedroom. A jeweler named Harry Winston bought it, and in 1958 mailed it to the Smithsonian. A mail carrier who delivered it got his leg crushed in an accident shortly after, and his house burned down. But since the Smithsonian got the diamond, nothing bad has happened. In fact, the museum's curator said owning it has brought nothing but good luck and helped them build one of the best gem collections in the world. Bisbee's stoop chair looks like any old wooden chair, and it is an old wooden chair, but the story behind it is way heavier than you'd expect. It goes back to 1702 in North Yorkshire, England, when a man named Thomas Bisbee was sentenced to death for killing his father-in-law. The two of them were running a sketchy coin forging operation together, and after a nasty argument, Bisbee snapped and took his life. That part is documented. The part people still argue about is when the curse supposedly started. Some say Bisbee was intoxicated at a pub, sitting in his favorite chair, and shouted that anyone who sat there after him would die. Others say he muttered something similar while being marched to the gallows. Either way, though, his body was hung on display near the inn, and the chair stayed right where it was. And over the years, stories started to spread about it. It seemed like people who sat in that chair ended up dying in accidents. During World War II, for example, Canadian airmen from a nearby base would grab drinks there. People swore that the ones who tried the chair never made it back from their flights. By the 70s, the pub owner had heard enough of these stories, and he didn't want the thing inside his building anymore. So he handed it over to Thirsk Museum. They still have it, but it's not on the floor.
What up, monk?
They literally mounted it high up on a wall so nobody can sit in it, even by accident. There's a book at Michigan State University called Shadows from the Walls of Death, and it's even more ominous than it sounds. It's published in 1874. It's basically a giant collection of wallpaper samples dyed from arsenic pigments, including the infamous Paris green. Back then, people loved bright, unnatural colors for their walls, but nobody really understood that these pigments were toxic. Touch the pages, inhale the dust, it could make you sick or, even worse, kill you. Originally, there were about 100 copies, but most were destroyed because they were too dangerous to exist. Only 5 survived. The ones that did are treated not just as fragile artifacts, but lethal ones. They used to be locked away completely. Even now, only trained staff can handle them. The pigments on the pages are old, but they still pose a real risk. If they flake, tiny particles could get absorbed through the skin or inhaled. The story of the woman from Lem statue starts in Cyprus in 1878. A small limestone figure from around 3500 BCE suddenly appeared.
What up,
Cyprus has
HG, brother?
produced hundreds of figurines like this, and the woman from Lem is shaped like the others, but not quite. The hips are much wider, the details are almost smoothed away, and the legs aren't really defined. It looks like it belongs to the same world, but also like it doesn't fit neatly with anything else archaeologists were finding at the time. What really pushed it into legend, though, were the deaths tied to its owners. The first name attached to it is a man called Lord Elfont, and the story claims he and 7 members of his family died within 6 years of bringing the statue home. After him, it supposedly passed to Ivor Manucci, whose family died within 4 years. Then it went to Lord Thompson Knoll, and the same thing happened. The last private owner was said to be Sir Alan Biverbrook, and after he, his wife, and their daughters died, his sons donated it to the Royal Scottish Museum. Even
it seems like it's the people that paint the pictures of these things after the stories, or the people that make the money off of it. What up, Funk? Why elephants are big? Why elephants are big, but they're able to walk the weight? Because they got big muscles. They don't start big. They start small, and then as they grow, their muscles grow with them, and then their bone density increases. I used to see shadow people when I was a kid. Good companion. He was always right behind you. He always had your back.
Curator who handled it reportedly died not long after. The strange part is that when you go looking for these names in real records, they're not there. No official trace of any of them, and the museum doesn't publicly list the statue, but supposedly it is there, maybe locked away too dangerous to display. At the Natural History Museum in London, you'll find the Delhi Purple Sapphire, a beautiful gemstone with a very dark legacy. In 1857, during the Indian Mutiny, a British soldier named Colonel W. Ferris took a purple sapphire from a temple in Kanpur and brought it back to England. At first, probably thought he'd scored a prized gem, but soon life started going sideways. His finances collapsed, family members fell seriously ill, and bad luck just seemed to follow him wherever he went. When he lent the stone to a family friend who later took their own life, Ferris started to wonder if the gem was actually cursed. By 1890, the sapphire had landed with Edward Heron Allen, a scientist and writer who didn't believe in superstition, but even he couldn't ignore the odd pattern. A friend he lent it to was hit by a streak of terrible luck.
No. That's the horseshoe crab. The horseshoe crab. It's got blue blood. Is it wrong if I date a much younger married woman because she's my cousin? Yep, it sure is. It sure is. Horseshoe crab blood. Yeah, see, it's blue. That's horseshoe crabs right there being milked. Even though it's blood, so they're being bled. Yeah. That's a little itty bitty one. Yeah, we used to catch them thought so. We used to catch them at the what was it called? What was the name of the place? Ocean City, Maryland. They would be on the beach there, or yeah. Look how big they are right there, biggins. And how I don't know how they tap a vein, but yeah, $60,000 a gallon. What up, James? They're also called triops. Are they? All right, let's see.
She lost her voice. Heron Allen tried to get rid of it, throwing it into a canal, but it was found and returned to him. Eventually, he locked the gem inside 7 boxes lined with charms and sealed it in a bank vault, leaving strict instructions that it shouldn't be opened until long after his death. When he died in 1944, his daughter sent the stone to the Natural History Museum, where it sat until 1972, and that's where curator Peter Tandy finally opened it, and found Heron Allen's warning letter inside, ending with a single line: throw it into the sea. And the Black Orlov is said to be one of the most cursed diamonds in the world. It was sold to a private owner in 2004, but it's been displayed at several museums, including the American Museum of Natural History in New York and the Natural History Museum in London. Story goes it was originally stolen from a Hindu temple in southern India, where it had been the eye of a Brahma statue. Legend has it a priest caught the thief in the act and cursed the stone on the spot. From that moment, death and disaster supposedly followed anyone who owned it. In the 30s, a New York diamond dealer named J.W. Paris bought the gem to the U.S. to try and sell it. Not long after, he jumped to his death from a Manhattan skyscraper. 2 Russian princesses later owned the diamond, and both ended up taking their own lives within a few years of each other.
Damn. There you go. That should be a good one.
A mutated spider terrorizing the residents of an apartment building in the Ukraine.
Huntsman.
Nuclear radiation that spawned a 3-headed frog and an ominous blackbird that seemed to signal the worst nuclear disaster in history. These are mutated animals found after nuclear fallout.
Holy crap.
So we've all heard of the wild stories about mutated animals in the Chernobyl
get you
exclusion
one.
zone,
Get you a
but there's
spider.
one story from the Ukraine about a mutated spider that you likely
I need to get
haven't
some
heard
water.
of. The story goes
There
that
we
2
go.
residents of an apartment in the Ukraine were found in the elevator, having suffered extreme BLOOD loss. But the elevator was completely clean, aside from the dead bodies, of course, who both had puncture wounds on their necks. It was as if their bodily fluids had been sucked right out of them. Rumors started to spread in the building that a vampire was lurking around, and some residents were so scared they refused to use the elevator at all. Then 2 detectives decided to look into it. On the 3rd day of their investigation, they hopped into the elevator, which suddenly stopped between the 5th and 6th floors. Now, at first, they weren't too worried, since the elevator was known to be pretty janky, but Then they heard a weird clicking noise from above them. They pulled off a roof panel and shone their flashlights up, only to see a foot-long black shape scuttling toward them. Suddenly, it lunged at one of the detectives. His partner fired at it, but it was too late. His partner was dead. When backup arrived, they found the surviving detective in a corner, terrified, with his dead partner and a massive mutated spider.
He said, "I missed the spider, but I shot my partner."
They discovered the thing had laid eggs. They burned them all with flamethrowers. People believe these monstrous spiders were a result of radiation from the Chernobyl disaster, which somehow mutated them into these deadly creatures. At least, so the story goes.
If an
Now, we hear about
oxolotl
animals with
leg is
extra
cut,
limbs
will
or
it
even
grow
two-headed
back? I
animal
believe
mutations
so.
sometimes.
I believe it will. Will an oxolotl cut leg grow back? Yes, completely grow a cut leg back, including bones, muscles, nerves, and blood vessels. This process has been perfected over a few weeks to months without scarring, and can be regenerated limbs throughout their regenerate limbs throughout their entire lives. After a leg is lost, cells migrate to the injury site and cause a blastema. Act as stem cells, rearranging and proliferating to create new tissues exactly where needed. That's pretty freaking cool, brother. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. There you go.
But three-headed mutations, can't say I've ever heard that one before.
Freak
This one is
Photoshop.
absolutely real. No urban legend status to this. So in 2004, a three-headed frog was found in the garden of Green Umbrella Nursery in the UK, and it may have been the result of nuclear radiation. A student who had just been dropped off at the nursery found it. At first, the staff thought it was just three frogs snuggled together, but then they
Snuggled
looked
together.
closer and realized it was actually one frog, not just with three
Giant
heads, but it
killer
also had
spider.
6
Never
legs.
saw that.
The staff
Why
placed
did
it
we
in a
not evolve with
tank,
regenerative
but by
powers?
the next morning, it had somehow
Because freaking
escaped.
Eve ate
Although
the
I guess if you
apple.
have 3 brains, you're probably better at figuring things out. A biology professor at the Open University called this mutation, quote, completely unheard of. He figured the mutation
Wow.
could be linked to parasites or pollution. There was a decommissioned nuclear power station nearby,
Damn,
so
look
it's
at
possible
that.
the frog was mutated by radiation. Moving back into the realm of urban legend for a moment, though, let me tell you a story of
Yeah.
the blackbird. In early April
Is it really called the
1986,
giant
people living
killer
near the
spider? Is that
Chernobyl
really a
nuclear power
movie? Movie, The Giant Killer Spider. The Giant Spider. 2013 black and white sci-fi film that pays homage to 1950 giant monster movies. Huh.
plants started reporting a strange and terrifying creature, a large mutated bird with giant wings and bright red eyes. This creature, dubbed the Blackbird of Chernobyl, seemed to be connected to a series of eerie events. People started seeing the bird in their dreams, and sightings of the creature seemed to increase as the days passed, building up to the early hours of April 26th, 1986, where at 1:23 a.m.
The buffalo bullfrog, I think it's called the buffalo. Largest bullfrog. Not adjustable frog. Goliath frog. It's a big old fat daddy. Look at the size of that freaking. Look at this freaking guy. Look at that thing. Look at that freaking thing. Look at that guy. Look at that. Jeez, look at that. That's called a pixie frog. Giant African bullfrog. There's one called a buffalo frog. I thought was the largest. Let me see. Buffalo. There you go. There you go. There he is, right there, right there. That's him, right there. He'll leap right at you. The David Frog could take down the Goliath one with one. There you go, buffalo frog legs. Jeez. Frog Zera. Definitely. Frogzilla.
Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl plant exploded,
Yep.
followed by a
R.I.P.
fire
Buffalo
and
Frog
nuclear
Leg.
meltdown. The disaster released radioactive fallout, leading to the evacuation of over 336,000 people. After the explosion, Soviet helicopters were sent to fight the fires at the plant.
the
and some of
waitress
the
was insulted
firefighters who
when I asked if she had
survived the
frog
initial
legs.
blast later claimed to have seen an ominous creature gliding through the air, one that looked a lot like the one people had been reporting. A massive creature with a 20-foot wingspan flying through the radioactive smoke. After the disaster, though, sightings of the Blackbird of Chernobyl stopped, and it left people wondering whether the creature was some sort of bad omen. Some also believe the Blackbird of Chernobyl could have been the same creature reported in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, before the collapse of the
There was
Silver
a Point
Bridge
Pleasant
in
near where I lived, where I
1968.
grew up.
Mothman. Speaking of Mothman, this creature is usually thought of as some sort of radioactive abomination. Reports of a strange winged creature began appearing in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in the 60s, culminating in the collapse of the Silver Bridge in December of 1968. Witnesses described the creature as having large wings, glowing red eyes, but with a human-like body shape. It became known as the Mothman. And much like the Blackbird of Chernobyl, some believe it appeared as a harbinger of doom. In the days leading up to the disaster, people reported seeing the
Harbinger of
Mothman
sorrow.
flying near the bridge. But as soon as the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing 46 people, the Mothman sightings immediately stopped. Sound familiar? Over the years, people have wondered what this creature was, or if it really
I think it's
existed
the
at
golden
all.
tree frog. I'm not exactly sure. Smallest frog. Pow Pow, New Guinea. They don't get much smaller than that. Adults are just 7.7 millimeters, a third of an inch in length, which is smaller than a U.S. dime. Camouflage frogs. Wow. Bam.
Of course, was it just a misidentified animal? Could it have been a mutated
Mothra.
creature of some kind? Or was it really some
I don't know
sort
what
of
kind of crabs
paranormal
you got,
being
Plus.
that shows up before major disasters, warning people of what's to come? A new attack atoll is a group of
Mothra. There you go. Bam. Mothra.
islands in the Western Pacific where the U.S. did
Space
43
crabs
nuclear
from
tests
outer
between
space,
1948
space,
to
space,
1958.
Coming soon.
Including the first
Coming
hydrogen
soon.
bomb test. All that testing left the lagoon, soil, and everything around it radioactive. In 1972, the U.S. spent $100 million to clean up the mess. They mixed 80,000 cubic meters of contaminated soil with cement and filled it into a giant crater, then covered it with a huge concrete dome. But even after all that, the damage didn't just disappear. Turtles living in the area
What
were
up,
found
Dow?
with radiation in their shells. During the cleanup, radioactive sediment from the
are you
lagoon
looking
got stirred up, and the turtles ended up swallowing it, which left them permanently affected by all that fallout. Yes, we had real-life radioactive turtles. That'd be a fun Ninja Turtles
Teenage
knockoff.
Mutant
Teenage
Ninja Turtles.
Mutant
What up, Tony?
Surfing Ninja Turtles is their sea turtles.
In our number 5 spot today, we have the loss of biodiversity. One of the most haunting aftermaths of the bombing was the eerie disappearance of entire species from the area. Sensitive animals and plants that couldn't withstand
Sensitive
the
animals.
radiation and environmental upheaval simply vanished. Imagine wandering through what was once a vibrant ecosystem only to find it eerily silent. No chirping birds, no rustling insects,
Imagine
just a void
space
where
crabs
life
transforms
used
the
to
image
thrive. Predators
cat to
lost
a
their
cat
prey,
space
plants
crab.
lost their
Gonna
pollinators,
be a cat.
and the intricate web of life began to unravel. The radiation didn't just harm individual creatures, it disrupted the harmony of nature itself.
Space crab
It's chilling to consider how one single event could erase so much natural diversity in the blink of an eye. What wonders and
diversity.
secrets of the natural
I
world
see
were
we're getting
lost
ready for the
forever
results of
in
the
that
Greater
instant?
Israel.
In our number 4 spot today, we are
gonna
talking about
see.
the glass and metal fusion. One of the most surreal discoveries in Hiroshima was how the extreme
We're gonna
heat
see.
from the blast melted glass and metal objects, fusing them into twisted, otherworldly shapes. Imagine a ceramic
Meow,
bottle
baby.
warped and
Meow.
melded into a metal fence, or window panes liquefied and draped over charred remnants of furniture. The temperatures soared so high, over 3,000 degrees Celsius, near the epicenter, that solid materials behaved like molten lava. These fused artifacts
Space
weren't just
crabs.
random debris, they became haunting symbols of the sheer destructive.
It typically refers to aliens from Apollo 18, space crabs. All right, let's see. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Okay, remote camera. Oops. Oh, no. Dang it. All right. No, before it gets dark, we only got about 15 minutes. Whoa, what's that? Whoa, what happened there? Okay, let's see. Boom. 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 Why is that so skinny? All right, let's see. Okay, we gotta go out and see, check on the chickens. We gotta make sure space crabs haven't attacked. Oh, bird. Trash can. Okay, it's closed. I walked through a freaking spider web. Jeez. All right. For some reason, my phone's real skinny. My camera. All right. Back in. We'll continue in just a moment. Okay. The Blair Witch Project. Off. There we go. Okay. Warhammer. It sounds like something you'd say catch from space hookers. Yep, space crabs. I knew you were cool, but I didn't know you were into Warhammer. Brother, I'm pretty cool. If we learned anything from Plants vs. Zombies, is that games inspired by conspiracy theories end up being successful. Yep. What up, Profac? The sequel to the Blair Witch Project. There was a sequel called Book of Sorrows or Book of something. Blair Witch 2. Book of Shadows. Blair Witch 2. Yeah.
Power unleashed that day. Scientists have studied these distorted objects to understand the incredible temperatures reached during the explosion and how such intense heat affected everything in its path. It is very eerie to think that everyday items like coins, bottles, and even bicycles were instantaneously transformed into grotesque sculptures of devastation. In our number 3 spot today, we are talking about the shadows. Perhaps the most haunting remnants left behind were the eerie nuclear shadows etched onto surfaces
yeah, that's
throughout
where
the
C's
city.
are from.
When the bomb detonated, the intense
Hebrew
flash
hammer.
of heat and light
Yeah, that's
bleached
where
everything
crabs are
it
from.
touched, except where objects or people blocked the rays. This resulted in ghostly outlines of humans and objects permanently imprinted on walls, steps, and sidewalks. Imagine seeing the silhouette of a person sitting on a staircase, their form forever captured in a moment of daily life turned tragic. These shadows are stark reminders of
got
the
crabs
individuals
from a
who were
truck stop
vaporized
once,
in an
not from the
instant,
sea.
leaving only their imprints behind. They provide a very visceral connection to the exact moment
Yep.
of the blast,
That'll do
showcasing
it.
the devastating immediacy of the explosion's
Lot
impact.
lizards.
It
The
is
lot
both
lizards give you
fascinating
lot crabs.
and
Lot
deeply
crabs.
unsettling to stand before these imprints, knowing that they mark the final moments of lives abruptly ended. In our number 2 spot today, we have the unidentified
waiting.
victims. During the massive reconstruction of Hiroshima, workers often stumbled upon human remains hidden beneath layers of rubble and ash. Many of these remains were unidentifiable, their identities erased by the intense heat and destruction.
Yep.
Imagine
You got
uncovering a
worms? Yeah, you gotta
skeleton
get rid of
clutching
them,
a
buddy.
melted trinket or fragments of bones mingled with debris, each one silently testifying to a life once lived. These discoveries were haunting, but also deeply significant. For some families, they provided a semblance of closure after years of uncertainty about the fate of their loved ones. From a historical
Specialize
perspective,
in
these
worm
findings
farms.
enriched our understanding of the
You got
tragedy's
worms
human
for sale.
toll. Perhaps even more heart-wrenching were the personal belongings found alongside the remains, intimate glimpses into the lives frozen in time. Watches stopped precisely at 8:15 a.m., the exact moment the bomb detonated, their hands forever marking the instant where everything changed. Scorched clothing fragments like a shoe or a tattered school uniform told stories of innocence lost. Other items, a pair of glasses twisted by heat, a lunchbox charred yet still holding a meal prepared that morning, became poignant symbols of everyday routines
They had
abruptly
Nikes back
shattered.
then?
These artifacts transformed into
Wait a
powerful
second.
reminders of the individual lives.
Hold on. When did they start making Air Jordans? Jordan wasn't even alive for World War II. What year was the Nike swoosh invented? 1971. What the hell are they talking about?
Behind the staggering statistics.
They're like, hey, we don't
It
have
is
any
fascinating
B-roll.
and deeply
We don't have any
moving
B-roll for this part. Put your shoes there and turn the camera black and white.
to hold these objects, realizing that they were once a part of someone's daily life, now serving as silent witness to a moment of unimaginable horror. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we are talking about the health effects. Right after the bombing, many suffered from acute radiation sickness. They experienced horrific symptoms like severe burns, hair falling out in clumps, relentless vomiting, and bleeding gums. But the nightmare didn't stop there. In the years that followed, there was a shocking spike in leukemia and other cancers among them. Studies uncovered that the intense radiation had wreaked havoc on their DNA, leading to genetic mutations. These weren't just personal afflictions. Some of these mutations were passed down to their children and even grandchildren, resulting in birth defects and hereditary conditions that rippled through generations. On top of all of this, the psychological trauma was immense. Survivors grappled with PTSD,
Survivor
haunted by
guilt.
flashbacks of the blinding light, the deafening explosion, and the harrowing scenes of destruction and loss. Depression and anxiety became common
why would
shadows
they
in their
have
lives.
anxiety?
It is just extremely
Gums
chilling to
Murphy.
think how a
Good old
single
Bleeding
moment
Gums
on that
Murphy.
fateful day unleashed a cascade
great
of physical
cartoon.
and emotional suffering that would echo through the decades. In our number 9 spot today, we are talking about Black Rain. Just when the survivors
Black
of Hiroshima
rain, oh,
thought the
chocolate
nightmare couldn't get
rain.
any worse, the sky
Chocolate
unleashed
rain.
a haunting black rain. This wasn't just any ordinary rainfall, it was a toxic brew of radioactive soot and ash from the atomic explosion. People who had escaped the initial blast found themselves drenched in this ominous downpour, unknowingly inhaling and ingesting radioactive particles. The black rain didn't just poison those in the
Yeah,
immediate
Prince's
vicinity,
failed song.
it spread contamination
Red,
far beyond the
bleeding
blast
gums,
zone,
bleeding-
reaching areas
bleeding
that
gums.
thought they were safe. Countless people
Black rain,
developed
red
radiation
rain,
sickness,
purple
mysterious
rain.
illnesses
He's like,
surfaced.
I'm trying to write a song. Black rain. No, not right. Red. No, it's just not right. Try purple. Purple rain. We got it. We got a hit.
and the haunting effects lingered for generations. It is very eerie to think that something as natural and life-giving as
I didn't
rain
ban
could
you.
become a silent messenger of widespread devastation.
Brother, Brother, you sounded drunk. That's what I'm saying. I gave you a 30-second. I gave you a 30-second timeout. I gave you a 30-second timeout. You sounded drunk. That's what that was about. The bombs they just dropped on Japan were fission bombs. The fusion bombs developed later, orders of magnitude more powerful.
In our number 8 spot today, we are talking about the deformed plants. After the bombing of Hiroshima, the devastation wasn't limited to buildings and human lives. The very fabric of nature seemed to unravel in disturbing ways. Imagine strolling through fields where sunflowers didn't just grow, they loomed monstrously oversized with stems that split and forked unpredictably. Their leaves were twisted and deformed, resembling something out of a surreal nightmare. Morning glories, usually delicate and beautiful, bloomed with petals so misshapen that they were almost unrecognizable. Scientists were completely baffled by these mutations, plants exhibiting abnormal growth patterns, gigantism, and bizarre deformities. The intense radiation had infiltrated the soil, scrambling the DNA of flora and leading to these unsettling changes. It was as if nature itself was protesting, displaying the invisible scars of nuclear fallout in an extremely haunting way.
After the 2011 meltdown at Fukushima, scientists and members of the Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, have been testing fish in the plant's inner harbor. And they've come in
saying, hey, I'm ready to go on. I said, you didn't set it up. He said, I set it up last Friday for Friday. I said, it's Tuesday. You said, let's do it early. Are you chicken shit? That's what you said. And you're saying I handled it wrong? I don't think he is.
Shocking results. Well, maybe not all that shocking considering what happened, but still interesting. In May 2022, they caught a black rockfish that was full of cesium-137, 180 times Japan's safe limit. Over a year-long period, they found 44 fish above the limit, caught inside or near the same port areas. These contaminated fish are almost all bottom dwellers that feed off the sediment where radioactive cesium has settled. The sediment was found to have over 100,000 becquerels per kilogram of radioactivity. To put that into perspective, Japan's safety limit for radioactive cesium in food is just 100 becquerels per kilogram. This stuff was literally 1,000 times over the safe limit. So, way too dangerous for human exposure. Obviously.
I told you what I wanted from you to contact me on Discord, tell me the topic we're going to do, and set up a date and time. And you don't want to do that. That makes me better than you. Cool. Cesium fish. Yeah, it tingles when it goes down. All right. Have a good day, brother. Have a good day.
That's to stop this radiated seafood from mixing with safer catch, but even then, a fish caught about 50 kilometers away in January of 2022 was still above the limit. So bottom line is, cleanup hasn't eliminated all radiation in the food chain. The Hanford site in Washington was at one time a secret plutonium factory for nuclear bombs. It's still one of the most radioactive places in the US, but it's also home to deer, turkeys, wild hogs, and rabbits that scientists have been studying. Researchers found rabbits foraging near contaminated soil with high levels of cesium-137, a dangerous radioactive isotope.
The government of 110th grade?
Decades. The Department of Energy and wildlife biologists monitor these animals because they can carry radioactive particles outside the site. Rabbits eat plants growing in contaminated areas and then move around the site and sometimes beyond.
Do you know that they still find boats that were sunk before World War II to use their steel in sensitive equipment, because all boats and metal that's been made after World War II and throughout the 50s and 60s when we were doing nuclear testing, all of the metal, everything is contaminated. So if we're making sensitive sensors and scientific equipment that needs to detect things, radiation, we can't use that, the current. So sunken boat steel for low nuclear background. Low background steel is metal produced before the first nuclear bomb test pre-1945, making it free from radioactive fallout contaminating modern steel. Sunken ships, particularly from World Wars I and II, are prime sources because their steel was submerged before nuclear atmospheric testing, making it essential for shielding highly sensitive instruments like Geiger counters and medical devices. So we've contaminated the entire planet, and so if we dig up even new ore right now, it still has a higher nuclear background. So the metal can't be used in very sensitive things because the radiation from even brand new steel made today has got too high of a radioactive background.
Other animals can show traces of radiation too, but the rabbits consistently show the highest levels. So they're super valuable when it comes to understanding how far the contamination might spread.
The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster is another infamous example of how the cons of nuclear energy can sometimes far outweigh the good. The disaster took place in 2011 after a tsunami triggered by a massive earthquake crashed into the plant and damaged the cooling and venting systems, which resulted in the meltdown of not one or two, but 3 massive nuclear reactors, which subsequently led to a massive amount of radioactive materials being released into the surrounding areas. Today, the reactors are still underwater, and unfortunately, they haven't stopped leaking radiation either. A combination that makes shutting down those reactors an incredibly difficult and dangerous task. Even robots sent in to assess the situation don't last long, about 1 hour, due to the excessive radiation levels inside of the plant. Right now, all Japanese officials can do is contain the leak as best they can, which at the moment consists of contaminated water collection and storage. It is estimated that it will take around $50 million and many years to actually shut down and decommission all of the reactors. So for now, all we can do is hope. And of course, we can also stay as far away from the Fukushima exclusion zone as is humanly possible, because as I said, the leak is ongoing. A 20-kilometer exclusion zone was put into effect on April 19th of 2011, just 1 month after the meltdown. All residents were evacuated and all unaffected reactors were decommissioned and eventually shut down the following year. But of course, by then, the damage had already been done. A study done on wildlife in the area showed that 28% of pale grass butterflies suffered from deformities that altered their wing patterns and caused them to have malformed antennae and legs. Monkeys in the area also had significantly lower red and white blood cell counts than other monkeys in Japan. And fishermen in the area now have a minor cancer risk increase due to the increased radiation levels of Pacific bluefin tuna. Now, despite all of the negativity surrounding the Fukushima disaster, there are 3 species that have actually begun to thrive as a result of the disaster. Mushrooms, spiders, and boars. Funguses in the area that contain melanin were able to convert the gamma radiation into energy, allowing them to spread much more quickly and efficiently. The number of spiders in the area also greatly increased. Another reason to stay away. This is likely due to the fact that the radiation caused their prey to become slower, weaker, and much easier to catch. And then, of course, there is the boar population. With no humans around to hunt them, in just 5 years, the wild boar population jumped from 3 to 13,000. The only problem is boars eat a lot of food, and they also aren't shy. In the years since the disaster, wild boars have caused $900,000 worth of damage to surrounding farmland. Prior to the meltdown, the boar population was controlled by hunting, but seeing as their meat is now considered to be radioactive, even the ones born after the disaster, because of the plants they eat, the drive to hunt them has significantly decreased. There is now a culling in progress, which is basically like a paid killing of the animals, but because of the boars' levels of radioactivity, processing their bodies has proven to be incredibly difficult, costly, and time-consuming. Right. It's an ongoing effort. Of course, nuclear meltdowns are not the only times in which nuclear cleanup has been necessary. There is also the case of nuclear warfare. In 1945, 2 nuclear weapons were used against Japan during the Second World War. On August 6, atomic bomb Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima, making it the first ever nuclear weapon used in warfare, and on August 9th, Fat Man, the second and hopefully final nuclear weapon used in warfare, was dropped on Nagasaki. When the first bomb dropped, Hiroshima was hit with an estimated 15,000 tons of TNT, which completely destroyed 5 square miles of the city and directly killed around 70,000 individuals. In the years that immediately followed, injuries and radiation sickness raised that death toll to over 100,000. And in the years after that, cancer and other long-term radiation effects caused the number of indirect deaths due to the attack to rise even further. Those born in the area in the years that followed as well also had extremely high levels of radiation and were often born with birth defects that included cleft palates, cleft lips, clubbed feet, additional fingers or toes, and fused fingers or toes. Eventually, the radiation subsided and Hiroshima was rebuilt, but not without a significant amount of money, time, and manpower. And then there's Nagasaki. Believe it or not, Nagasaki was not actually the original target for the second nuclear weapon. It was more of a last-minute decision. That's right, Fat Boy was actually supposed to have been dropped on Kohura, but due to weather conditions, the plan was changed, and as a result, Nagasaki was hit with a nuclear plutonium bomb that weighed nearly 10,000 pounds and that produced a 22 kiloton blast. About 30% of the city was wiped out within moments, and 60 to 80,000 deaths occurred as a result of both direct exposure to the blast and the long-term negative side effects of radiation. Those born in the areas surrounding the explosion site in the years that followed also experienced birth defects similar to those experienced in the areas surrounding Hiroshima. It took the city 2 years and a lot of money to begin to heal from the incident, but today the radiation levels of both Hiroshima and Nagasaki are on par with the low levels of background radiation found pretty much anywhere on Earth. The cities have reopened due to morbid curiosity.
So what happens is cesium is close to iodine on the periodic table, and radioactive iodine. So if you have your stores in your body filled up with non-radioactive iodine, then the radioactive iodine doesn't take its place. It doesn't fit into one of the receptors that would be filled full of iodine. If you're missing iodine, if you're deficient in iodine, then it can fill that in. This is why you don't want to be vitamin and mineral deficient. One of the good reasons. And then when your body uses that iodine to start multiplying cells, making neurotransmitters, it'll make it with the radioactive iodine, the radioactive cesium and whatnot, and then put it throughout the body. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, take your iodine. Lugol's solution. Okay, let me see. Taking iodine for nuclear bombs. Okay, potassium iodide is used to thyroid gland for absorbing radioactive iodine, which is a byproduct of nuclear fission. During a nuclear event, radioactive iodine can be inhaled and ingested, significantly increasing the thyroid cancer rates. The thyroid gland needs iodine to function, but cannot distinguish between the safe and the radioactive. So saturation, taking iodine fills the thyroid with stable iodine. Once the gland is saturated, it can't absorb any more iodine, meaning radioactive or standard iodine, regular iodine or radioactive iodine. So it just, as it passes through your system, it only does very little damage as it passes through and it's pooped out and whatnot. Yeah, that's why taking your iodine is good for you.
Tourism, they have become an incredibly popular travel destination. Well, while nuclear energy is obviously incredibly high risk, it's also high reward. It releases the least amount of greenhouse gases, it is consistent and controllable energy, it does not require raw materials, it's almost completely recyclable, and it does not emit any fine particles like nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrates, or phosphates into the air. On the flip side, sometimes some pretty bad stuff happens. For example, the Chernobyl disaster, which took place in the city of Pripyat in Ukraine on April 26th of 1986. That day, a misguided experiment in the nuclear facility, which at the time was one of the largest nuclear power plants in the world, caused a sudden power surge, which caused the 1,000-ton steel top to blow right off the reactor, which caused a lethal cloud of radioactive nuclear material to engulf the area before moving on to affect other parts of Europe. 32 people died that day in Pripyat, yet, and while the exact number is unknown, it is estimated that as many as 70,000 people died as a result of the meltdown, and many others suffered from severe radiation burns.
Yes.
Surprisingly, despite this, the Chernobyl...
I'm not afraid of starting to use nuclear, especially the thorium reactors, the thorium breeder reactors and stuff that they're doing right now. Right. Now, no containment building, right? And they were dumb. It was running fine for decades, and they were like, cool, everything's normal. Don't skip the safeties. But yeah, the new thorium stuff that they're doing in Copenhagen Atomics, that stuff, like, it uses liquid fuel. So if something bad started to happen, you just drain it out rather than having to put the rod, trying to slide physical rods into other physical, the fuel, to separate the fuel rods with the control rods, because if they swell up, the control rods don't fit in standard systems. But in the liquid ones, you can just drain the liquid. And interesting, the onion reactor, it uses actual heavy water in the middle of the core. And the reaction only goes on when that water's there. So you can just drain the water out, and it just turns off the neutrons. Basically, the neutron reaction, so it just stops. Right? So you just have to drain water rather than the water being flashed to steam. Yep, France has a bunch. Yep. Yeah, they're on their way. They're making everybody, this is what they're doing with AI. They're tricking all the companies and CEOs to think that they'll be left behind without taking on AI and paying for AI. AI is cheap now because it's still being run from their initial funding rounds, but that stops, and then the prices are going to go up. And then what's going to happen is, well, we need cheaper power. And then now all the companies that rely on AI, which is growing every day, are going to want to do that. So then they'll be the ones that pay the politicians to say, okay, we're going to start, we need politicians to get in there that'll make sure we get nuclear reactors. And then the nuclear reactors will come in to drop the power cost. That's what's happening.
Chernobyl power plant wasn't officially closed until 14 years later in 2000. But of course, there is much more to a nuclear disaster than just death. When a nuclear disaster takes place, there are a number of things you have to do in order to contain the damage and keep the death toll from spiraling out of control. First, the leaking reactors must be stabilized via a cold shutdown, a process that cools nuclear fuel to a temperature of 100 degrees Celsius or below to keep the energy from leaking into the air. An exclusion zone then has to be created. Restricted areas people are forbidden from entering for their own safety due to the high levels of radiation. Then there is deep geological disposal, which is storing low-level waste underwater for 5 years before moving it to dry storage. This disposal would also include 4 centimeters of all now radioactive topsoil from farms in the area. And then, of course,
let me see if I can find this real quick. Copenhagen Atomics onion reactor. Copenhagen Atomics. Yeah, here you go. 100 megawatt, and it fits in a 40-foot shipping container that you see driving down the road. The things on the back of tractor trailers. It fits into one of them, and it makes 100 megawatts. Yeah, 40-foot shipping container. Let me see if I can find a short video on it.
Called the onion core, is roughly 2.5 meters in diameter. The fuel is molten. It's a molten salt that has the same viscosity as water. Fuel flows from the bottom towards the top, and while it's here in the middle, this is where the chain reaction happens, and this is where the energy is created. So when the salt comes in down here at the bottom, it's at 600 degrees, and when it leaves at the top, it's 700 degrees. And it takes less than a second to pass through here. So in less than a second, we heat up the salt by 100 degrees. So this is where a lot of energy is created as heat.
So it's liquid thorium salts rather than rods of uranium and shit.
Outside the building, in another building.
And in the outside layer, it creates the fuel that it needs to pump through the inside layer. So it's breeding its own fuel.
Convert that heat into electricity with a steam turbine. The salt that comes out of the reactor is not radioactive. There are some other salts inside the reactor that are radioactive, but we use heat exchangers to bring the heat from the radioactive salt over to a non-radioactive salt that can be sent out of the building.
He didn't. I mean, he explained it all right, but he didn't explain it very well.
The size of a Copenhagen Atomics reactor, what's that? First of all, there's the reactor unit itself, which is roughly the same size as a 40-foot shipping container. Of course, it's not a classical or ISO shipping container. It's a special purpose-built, nuclear-approved container. But the size of it is 12 meters long, 3.2 meters wide, and 3.65 meters high. You need a cocoon around that to shield it both from radiation coming from the inside, but also shield it from whatever might come from the outside, plane crashes or whatever, hurricanes and so on. So the size of the cocoon is 30 meters long, 6.5 meters wide, and 7.2 meters tall. That is quite big. And the cocoon sits there for 50 years or more. It doesn't get replaced, but the reactor containers inside get replaced on a regular interval in the beginning every 5 years. And then, of course, you need a building around it. And if you want to put, say, 1 gigawatt of electrical power capacity in one building, then the size of the building will be roughly 400 meters long, 50 meters wide, and 12 meters high. A lot of times people ask, so would it get more efficient if you made it bigger? The answer is
yes,
no.
that's what this
There's
is.
also
That's
people
what this
asking,
is.
can we make it smaller so they can fit inside a car or airplane or whatever? You could make it slightly smaller, but then you would have to have higher enriched fuel, which is a problem in itself. But also, if you make it smaller, you would not be able to make as much power. The fuel gets more expensive and you make less power, so that means the energy that gets out of it, the electricity, becomes much more expensive. So making it much smaller is not a good idea. If you try to make it bigger, you have similar problems that it also gets more expensive. It's a little bit like computer chips. When we need a giant computer, we don't make computer chips that are 2 by 2 meters in size. We make thousands of computers in racks and configure them as a giant computer cluster inside a building. And this is the same with these reactors.
I would really like to see a better explanation.
Core that we've developed is the most efficient reactor core that has ever been developed. It is really important for getting the price down of electricity. So let's say that there was some other company that was able to make a thorium reactor using a graphite core. That invention by itself, for that patent, we would be able to get our price down to half of what they can make it at. It's much more efficient. We only have a leakage of 2% of neutrons, and other reactors easily have 20 or 30% neutron leakage, so we can get more energy out of each kilogram than they can. And that's because of the efficiency of the onion core.
Yeah, so the onion core has a center of heavy water, and then the one layer or onion ring around it. So it's three-dimensional. It's like an onion, right? So the second skin around it is where the nuclear, where the salt heats up. The nuclear reaction causes the salt to heat up. Then that liquid salt goes out, boils water to steam, turns a steam turbine, just like regular nuclear reactors, just like coal, just like oil-fired or natural gas power plants. They just boil water to steam, steam turns a steam turbine, like ogres.
With our type of nuclear reactors, the most optimal size of the reactor core, what we call the onion core, is roughly 2.5 meters in diameter. The fuel is molten. It's a molten salt that has the same viscosity as water. Fuel flows from the bottom towards the top, and while it's here in the middle, this is where the chain reaction happens, and this is where the energy is created. So when the salt comes in down here at the bottom, it's at 600 degrees, and when it leaves at the top, it's 700 degrees. And it takes less than a second to pass through here. So in less than a second, we heat up the salt.
Right. I really wish we could find a better. Thing about it. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Hey, Andy. Welcome to class, brother. Dun, 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 dun. Better than that, nerd. What's
There
up,
is
brother?
the research aspect. When a nuclear disaster takes place, it is super important to study their effects so that we can be better informed and better prepared in the case of any other future events. After the Chernobyl disaster, scientists noticed some negative effects in the affected areas, but also some good ones too. Starting off with the bad, pine needles on pine trees within a 1.5 mile.
ND, brother. There you go, brother. Thank you, my friend. ND swinging in with money. Would you win some money today, ND? Thank you, brother. Damn. ND's throwing the dollars around.
Radius of the meltdown turned red, and new trees growing in the
Love you
area
too,
grew
brother.
to look like mangled bushes that lacked central stems. As for the animals, the brains of 48 bird species were tested, and it was discovered that due to radiation causing oxidative stress, they had actually become 5% smaller, which led to a decrease in the birds' cognitive abilities. But their brains were not the only problem. Many birds also had malformed beaks and deformed feathers, making hunting and survival significantly more difficult than before. Oh, and deer meat became highly regulated after the incident because a lot of it was incredibly radioactive. But as I said, it wasn't all bad. Strangely enough, there were a few people who decided not to leave when the city of Pripyat was evacuated. Even stranger, studies showed that those who stayed actually had an increase in life expectancy in comparison to the national average. Why? We do not know. We literally don't know. Like the city of Pripyat, the nearby Kopachi village was also evacuated. Unlike Pripyat, it was then bulldozed and buried. That's right. After the incident, officials declared the village highly radioactive, unsalvageable, and a major health risk. And so it was determined that the village would be buried to keep the radiation levels from the Chernobyl meltdown down and to protect those living in the surrounding areas. Unfortunately, that was kind of a big mistake. You see, when the village was bulldozed and then buried, it became much easier for radioactive chemicals to seep into the local underground water table.
I wonder who, the guys that did all of that work, bulldozing and burying and all that stuff, like what they had to deal with.
Which led to the village becoming contaminated for
This
much
is terrifying discoveries after nuclear disasters.
longer than it would have been had they left it alone. Today, Kopachi Village is completely covered with grass, and the only remnants are building markers that mark where each building would have once stood, and of course, a whole bunch of radioactive warning signs.
Right. Meanwhile, in Norway, the fallout from Chernobyl affected reindeer. The radioactive elements settled in the soil and were absorbed by moss and fungi, which reindeer love to eat. And after the fallout, reindeer were found to have radiation levels of over 100,000 becquerels per kilogram, way higher than what's safe.
It's
Though the
terrifying.
radiation in reindeer meat has decreased over time, sometimes levels still spike, going above 2,000, still enough to cause concern for those who eat reindeer meat. After the Fukushima disaster in 2011, macaque monkeys living near the plant were found to have dangerously high levels of radiation in their bodies. The earthquake and tsunami triggered a meltdown at the Fukushima nuclear plant, releasing radioactive cesium into the environment.
Now he said it
Macaques'
right.
diet, which includes mushrooms, tree bark, and bamboo, likely contributed to this exposure. Again, these plants absorb radiation from the soil, and as the monkeys ate them, the radiation accumulated in their bodies. In fact, the macaques were found to have up to 13,500 becquerels of cesium per kilogram. Scientists believe the radiation might have also
Becquerels.
caused some disturbing effects on the monkeys as well, like smaller heads, smaller brains, delayed growth in
That's what happened to
general,
Space
and
Cow.
even anemia. After the Chernobyl disaster, nature took over in a
that's
big
right,
way.
that's
the
right.
area around the reactor,
Rudolph the
especially
Green-Nosed
the ghost
Reindeer.
town of Pripyat, has seen this massive explosion of plant life, with humans gone, for the most part anyway. Trees, vines, and bushes have crept over everything, turning the place into this sort of urban jungle. It's actually pretty
What's up,
amazing
Michael,
how
brother?
quickly nature
Yeah,
rebounded.
don't want no
This regrowth
beef
has created new
with
habitats
Santa.
for all sorts of animals, and the area is now home to all these thriving animal populations. But it's not all good news. Some scientists noticed that certain parts of the forests aren't decomposing as they should. Leaves in areas with higher radiation levels didn't break down properly. In an experiment, leaves from clear areas were left in spots with more
Rudolph
radiation,
burgers.
and after nearly a year,
Blitzenburgers.
those leaves had
Blitzenburgers.
only decomposed about 40%. Instead of breaking down, they just stayed dry and intact. That might not seem like a big deal, but when dry leaves pile up in a place that could be prone to a forest fire, that's a bit of a hazard risk. If a fire were to break out, it could also spread radioactive material.
The leaves that don't break down that are still radioactive, if they caught fire, it would turn into radioactive floating ash.
Beyond the exclusion zone. Back in 2014, something pretty wild happened on a farm in northeast Croatia. Zoran Paparic's
I'm
goat,
already feeling the effects today. That's right, brother. It doesn't take long. If you're deficient, it doesn't take long. My melatonin is usually low, so I have to take a pill at night. But I'm already feeling tired. Yeah, right. So, and that's with the cyanocobalamin. When you get more out of the methylated stuff, because your body has to methylate the B12. Your body takes it in as cobalamin and then methylates it, adrenalates it, and hydrates it in your liver. But if you get it pre-methylated, your liver doesn't need to do that. So it starts working right away, and then you get less of the cyanide. Right, but yeah, you'll notice a difference too. Yeah, I did. It's fixed. 110thgrade.com. 110th grade, I mean. Yeah, it's fixed.
Sarka gave birth to a kid with 8 legs, along with 2 healthy goats. Sarka had this extra-legged baby, which also had
like a month, easily a month, like 30 days. Like I gave up on it, and then I checked it like last week, and it went through. Yeah.
Male and female reproductive organs. Local vets said it was
I
likely
considered
because
it
of an
Space Cow.
underdeveloped twin sibling that
considered
didn't fully form. When Zoran first saw the goat, he couldn't believe his eyes.
Yeah.
saying,
So Michael, to finish with you real quick. Right. So your body needs. Your body uses cobalamin. That's what B12 is. I say methylcobalamin because that's what I take. But methylcobalamin, and the neurotransmitters like it's serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine. You need all of that stuff. And then let's say melatonin works together with B12 to make you tired. So if your body doesn't have enough B12, then you need more melatonin for your sleep cycle to start. And that's why taking more melatonin, because you didn't have enough B12 to work, B12 basically boosts it. So you don't have enough B12 in your body, so you need more melatonin to do the same thing that the natural amount of melatonin would do, the normal amount of melatonin would do. Jai Pierre. Thank you, Jai Pierre. That's very nice of you. Nice to meet you too, brother. Bam. So maybe like 5 milligrams a night instead of 10. I take 5 milligrams. Yeah, I take 5 milligrams, 5,000 micrograms of. Are you talking about of melatonin? I mean, you can. Yeah. If you lay down and you're ready to go to bed in a half hour and you don't fall asleep, then I would take like half as much as you normally take. That's what I would do. What up, cat? Did you take the reservations?
Then I called my neighbor to make sure that I wasn't crazy. People started calling it the octo-goat. Zoran hoped the little guy would survive, and even though vets weren't too optimistic, they said it probably wouldn't make it, but if it did, it could live a couple of years. I don't know what's happened to this goat now, but yeah, pretty nuts.
In our number 7 spot today, we are talking about the mutated animals. One of the most unsettling discoveries in Hiroshima after the bombing was the bizarre mutations seen in the local wildlife. Picture rabbits born without ears, birds with twisted beaks or missing feet, and butterflies sporting.
So if I were you, if you needed it all now, But if I were you, I would, and you're going to try anyway, I would take half as much as I normally take melatonin. If you're talking about melatonin, yeah, I take 5,000 micrograms of B12 in the day, and I don't take any melatonin at night anymore. I had melatonin gummies. I don't take it at all anymore. You might want to, like, over the next couple of days or something like that, but within a day or two, you probably won't even need it. Hey, wife, my dear. It's the end of the day.
Oddly shaped wings or unusual color patterns. Many insects, birds, and small mammals
but it's not like
abnormalities.
You're gonna overdo it. You know, but it's better for you to not take it. When your body detects, for a lot of compounds, when your body detects that it's already there, it stops making its own. So you don't want your body to stop making melatonin. You want your body to do it. And now that you've got plenty of B12 in your system, you most likely won't need any, but it might take a few days to fill up your stores.
Malformed limbs and albinism. The radiation definitely didn't discriminate. It seeped into every corner of the environment, altering the DNA of creatures great and small. Even their reproductive systems were affected, leading to dwindling animal populations as they struggled to produce healthy offspring. It's chilling to think about how the silent forests and fields around Hiroshima became a living laboratory of genetic mutations, all stemming from that single devastating blast. Who would have thought that the ripple effects of human conflict could reach so deeply into the natural world? In our number 6 spot today, we are talking about the radioactive isotopes. One of the most disturbing aftershocks of the bombing was how radioactive isotopes like cesium-137 and strontium-90 stealthily crept into the food chain. Plants absorbed these radioactive particles from the contaminated soil, turning everyday crops into dangerous carriers of radiation. Herbivores like cows and rabbits ate these plants, unknowingly accumulating toxins in their bodies. Predators and even humans then consumed these animals, further concentrating the radiation. Imagine families sitting down to what they thought was a wholesome meal, not realizing each bite was a dose of invisible poison. The bioaccumulation led to long-term ecological chaos and serious health issues, including cancers and genetic mutations, affecting not just one generation, but many to come. It's very chilling to think that the very food meant to nourish communities became a threat, weaving radiation into the fabric of life itself.
Back in 1874, a story came out that lit up newspapers around the world.
I
It was
finished
written
my
by a
painting,
guy
though,
named
so
Edmund Spencer.
that's
It
what's
featured a
gonna be
letter
on the
supposedly
table
written
for
by a
tomorrow.
German explorer named Carl Leech.
And hopefully
According to this letter,
the GitHub hack gets patched up before that. I see that GitHub got hacked. The GitHub hack. And it seems like a lot of the companies that are switching over to AI are having a lot of problem with hacks lately. Like there's these hacker groups that are just asking the AI for security keys, SSH keys and stuff, and it's just giving it out. Six hours ago. Let any authenticated user execute code on GitHub servers. And yeah, that's so freaking crazy. Blue's probably my favorite color, blue. This black guy at work asked where the color printer was. I told him it's 2026. You can use whatever printer you want. Speaking of which, I went to church earlier before you stopped your stream. How'd the painting go? Yeah, I got done. I got it knocked out. What up, lamb?
Leitch was deep in Madagascar when he came across a tribe called the Makotos, who, according to him, were not exactly the welcoming type. They quietly led him through the jungle until they reached a strange-looking tree, and that's where things got very dark. Leitch described the thing like a giant pineapple with huge hooked leaves and a pool of liquid at its center. Then came the horror show. The Makotos forced one of their women to climb the tree. She drank from the liquid, and immediately the tendrils snapped to life and wrapped around her, crushing her like a snake. She screamed, then choked, and then the tree started oozing bodily fluids.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. GitHub is a service online so if you're doing coding, if you're creating a project that you want other people to work on or other people to be able to download to use, you could put it up there. And if you have a project that you and a bunch of other people are work on, it's got a system together that when you edit the code, it'll update it there. And if your edit broke the code, it can be removed, like just those commits, and then it'll allow other people to work on the same code, and it keeps everything like separated out and put together, so a bunch of people can fix other people's codes or adapt stuff like that with permission. So yeah, that's what it's for programming. I'm glad to see you're still here. Would you let the name Diddy permanently tattooed on your forehead for $10 million? I wouldn't do that. I'd do it for $50. Plus, I'll do it. Yeah.
Down its trunk. Leitch claimed he stuck around and studied the tree for weeks, said he found smaller versions of it, said he even saw one eat a lemur. The Yativia was first written about in 1887 in Land and Sea by American journalist and author J.W. Buell. It's supposedly a real carnivorous tree found in South America, with relatives rumored to grow in Africa and along the Indian Ocean. Most descriptions say it has a short, thick trunk and long tendrils that lash out and grab anything that gets too close. Some versions even say it has an eye used to track its prey. Locals were terrified of it. They believed it was cursed, the result of some kind of dark magic or witchcraft. The way Buell described it, this thing didn't just eat bugs like a Venus flytrap. It was actually big enough to take down humans. The tendrils were covered in hooked barb, and instead of growing upward, they lay in a circle on the ground, like a trap. It sort of looked like a good place to rest, but if you got too close, the spines would spring up like snakes, coil around you, and crush you to death. In 2007, villagers in Padrama, South India, claimed something insane was going on in the forest. A tree was eating their cows. Farmers had noticed cattle returning home without tails. Some of the cattle were just missing entirely. Then one afternoon, a cow grazing near the forest was suddenly yanked off the ground by what witnesses described as living branches. The animal screamed and thrashed as the herder ran back to the village in a panic, and a group of people returned with axes and machetes. By the time they got there, the tree still had the cow, but they managed to beat back the branches and rescue it. The tree, according to villagers, went limp after being struck. Locals call it Pili Mara, which means tiger tree. They've had stories about it for years. Forest officials did acknowledge that reports had been made about cattle injuries and missing animals.
You've never heard of GitHub? Yeah, GitHub's been around, I mean, since the internet's been around. GitHub creation date. October 10th, 2010, so not quite then. No, that's not it. Sorry. 2008. Yeah, GitHub, yeah. Like that's where you can go get like all kinds of open source software, or even paid for software, but open source. You can go there and download the source code, change it however you want, compile it and run it. Like you can go get like GIMP and Inkscape and tens, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other projects. Yeah. And then you can edit it yourself. You can make your own changes. If you find a bug, you can fix the bug and then push the commit. Push the change, and then if they can add it into the. I only drink male pigeon milk. I meant the tree. Why can't pigeons date women? Why? Tell me why. Tell me why.
Said their staff even came across a partially cut down tree in the same area, one that seemed to match the descriptions. A few years after the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster, some strange photos started making the rounds online. They showed flowers, specifically daisies, growing in these weird, unnatural shapes. The petals were fused together and the stems looked thick stretched and twisted like
That
someone
looks
had
like
mashed
friggin'
a bunch
AI,
of flowers
because
into
they're
one. It's a condition called
mandated.
fasciation, where the plant's growth hormones go haywire and cause it to grow in weird ways.
Got it.
These mutated daisies were found roughly 100 miles from the Fukushima site, and it didn't take long for people to blame radiation. After all, this was one of the worst nuclear disasters in recent
Wow,
memory.
they still look,
Moss
I
Man
mean,
is one of
healthy.
Florida's lesser-known but creepiest cryptids. Described as a tall humanoid about 6 to 7.5 feet, its entire body is covered in what looks like moss. Almost looks like a
Nope,
walking
never seen
ape-like
a baby
bush.
pigeon.
The first
Nope.
reported sighting was in 1978. A couple was relaxing on the beach when they spotted what looked like a man in a raincoat lying by the rocks. They ignored it until it stood up, and that's when they realized that it wasn't a coat. What they thought was fabric was actually moss, growing straight out of the thing's skin. It also had bright red eyes, which locked onto them. The couple rightfully hopped to their feet and bolted. Later, the only thing left behind where the strange creature had been was a clump of Spanish moss. That kicked off a string of sightings over the next 2 years. People reported seeing its head rise from the ocean mist or spotted it drifting through the trees in parks. It was seen in places like Red Reef Park, Hillsborough Beach, and West Palm Beach. Closest call came in 1980
used to have tons
when
of
an
pigeons
elderly
that took care
couple
of my
saw
dad.
something hidden in the bush
Uh-oh.
during an evening stroll at Red Reef. Well, the woman leaned in, and the thing turned and locked eyes with her. And they were glowing red, staring right through her. The couple ran for it. There haven't been any major sightings since. Till this day, no one really knows what people were seeing. This one comes from deep in the Nicaraguan swamps, a plant known as the vampire vines, just as horrific as it sounds. The original story was published in Lucifer
it's
magazine
storming
back
now.
in 1891
Outside,
from a
storming.
report by a naturalist
Storming.
named Leroy Dunstan. He was out collecting bugs and plants when his dog suddenly started crying out nearby. He ran over and found the animal tangled in what looked like thin rope-like vines. The plant's branches drooped like a weeping willow, but there was this
I
black,
used to build,
sticky
raise
substance
pigeons.
oozing from the stems. It was kind of like sap, but darker, almost like tar. He tried to
had
cut
the
the dog
GPS
free, but as soon as he touched the vine, it turned on him. The tendrils seemed to reach out, trying to latch onto his skin, and wherever it touched, it burned. Blisters formed almost instantly. His dog managed to survive, but was covered in little bite marks. Dunstan later said that the locals called it Devil's Snare, and that others had actually been killed by it. He tried to take a piece of the vine home, but the thing died during the trip and it started rotting. It smelled so bad he had to throw it overboard. Chernobyl's radioactive fallout didn't just poison the ground, it changed the way things grow. Inside the exclusion zone, where humans mostly stay out, researchers have been quietly planting and studying crops to see how radiation still affects
You don't think the
life.
government
One of
cares
the
for
biggest
15-year-olds?
surprises is wheat. The seeds looked normal, but what happened after planting was anything but. Scientists found that wheat grown inside the zone was
You might want-
mutating at a rate up to 6 times higher than normal wheat. Some plants sprouted weirdly fast, others barely grew. Some had odd
That's
shapes
actually a
or
good
stunted
joke.
roots, others were completely sterile. These weren't caused by
He's
heavy
only playing
doses
around.
of radiation like you'd get in an accident. This was from long-term, low-level exposure in the soil, the air, and the water. So the wheat's DNA got scrambled. Not enough to kill it outright, but just enough
Brother,
to
no,
confuse
yeah.
the signals.
I had to do a lot of the work I did after I got done painting. I had to bring everything in and tie a bunch of stuff down. Yeah, there's a lot, big storm. It's making a lot of noise out there right now. Oops, wrong button.
That tell it how to grow. What's even creepier is that these mutations are still happening decades after the disaster. So even when things seem to look normal, nature is still having a very hard time recovering. In
And
1960,
I've got a pretty good weather. I got an analog weather radio that gets alerts and like it'll wake me up. You know, even if the power goes out, its battery backup and whatnot, and it'll wake me up and let me know what's going on. Brother, they fly around. Their coop is chain. I have two big half inch metal making these big eye bolts that go through it, and it chains it, basically straps it to the ground. But yeah, they can handle it. Yep. Not X-Men, but X-Wheat. They hide in the basement. Get what? What'd I miss? Chickens or X-Wheats? Oh, yeah. The radio. Yes. Analog weather radio. Yeah, like these things here. Weather radio, weather alert radios. Yeah. And it's almost looks pretty much like that, and it tells you what area it's in. It tells you what report comes from, what report, where the report comes from. Like there's small little airports like for private jets and for prop planes, and then there's the big airports like Atlanta International, and they all have weather systems. What are they called? I can't remember what they're called. They're sensors that test wind speed, barometric pressure, whatnot, and they put up. It goes. Tornado effect is in warning, and it says, "Hi, this is blah 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 from Peachtree City Weather Alert Station. Blah, 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 blah. There is barometric pressure is currently this that," and then it'll say you have hail warning or thunderstorm warning, or it'll say get safe. Within the area of this alert, which is like every 3 mile bubble. And then if it's something within 3 miles of where I can hear the broadcast from, it tells you to get safe and whatnot. Yeah. Can you hear that? I can see the beats of the rain hitting on the mic. Yeah. I just turned the mic up real loud. Have you gotten? Yes. Yeah. Shit, I've had to clean up a lot of stuff. I had trees laying all over in the road, like right outside. Like we've got a couple of electric chainsaws and gas chainsaws, and when our neighbors' trees and stuff fall over, we all head out and clear the road real quick right after it gets safe. Yeah, very close. Yeah, you should get one. They're not expensive. Like mine costs like $40. A lot of these look like they're 30 to 50. And it just sits there and it stays on charge. Mine's old. Like it doesn't have like nowadays they're like USB back, charging ports on it. Mine's an old wackadoo. Today it went up to $3.90, so it's almost $4.
Jennings Frederick was out hunting in Fairmount, West Virginia, when he heard a weird sound. It wasn't an animal, and it wasn't human either. It was this high-pitched, fast and jittery noise, almost like someone playing a tape at double speed. Curious, he tracked it through the woods until he came face to face with something he'd never forget, no matter how much he tried. There was some sort of creature. It had pale greenish skin, a skinny frame, arms like branches, and fingers.
My mom was really young, but when she was like 12, she woke up in the middle of the night with her window open and her shutter flipped outside the house, and she was then back. She thought it was a dream. She went back to sleep. Reminds me of a hurricane I went through living in Texas growing up. Looks like all the trees, luckily our side of the street was same power up grid as a hospital. Yeah, they kept you guys powered up. You had good backup.
Power restored a few days afterwards. Was making that awful, inhuman sound. Yeah. All Jennings could do is stand there.
I've got a couple of battery backups. My internet's battery back up, and my so my router, my modem, and my main router. I've got two other routers, but and then I've got one for my laptop, and my laptop's got a battery, so it doesn't charge my laptop until after the laptop battery gets to 15%. She went back to bed, ended up waking up in her shed, total tree barked outside. Yep. Let's go. Just sleep through it.
Shock and awe until suddenly he could hear the thing talking, not out loud, but in his head. Don't be afraid. I want to talk. I come in peace. I need help, it said. And then, without warning, the creature rushed him, grabbing him in a tight, almost desperate hold, piercing his skin with its thorned fingers. Jennings tried to break free, but the thing just would not move. During the whole encounter, its eyes kept flashing in different colors, too, and Jennings just
Hole
couldn't look
encounter.
away.
Yeah,
It
he
felt
showed a little bit of
hypnotic.
Slender
But
Man,
a
yeah.
few seconds later, the creature finally let go and sprinted up a hill. Not long after, Jennings heard a deep, low humming, like an engine firing up, and the creature was gone. It was never seen again. Next up, we have the Cactus Cat. Part cactus, part cat, cactus cat. Stories about the Cactus Cat
I
go
live
way
in
back to the
Georgia.
old frontier days. Cowboys
I live a
swore
couple
they'd
of-
seen
I
this
live a long
odd
way from-
plant-like
a couple hundred
cat
miles,
creature
1,000
in the
miles
deserts
from
of
Michigan.
California, New Mexico, Nevada, and parts of Colorado. They said it looked like a bobcat, but with cactus-like spikes instead of fur, sharp bones sticking out of its front legs, and a tail that split like a tree branch. The thing didn't hunt prey or stalk travelers. Instead,
Their
it
best
had a
friend.
strange obsession with
A
cacti.
few
It would
years ago,
come out at
a girl
night,
killed a
slice open
classmate for
cactus
Slender.
plants with its claws.
Yeah, I watched that too. You're just trying to convince me I live somewhere else? I didn't eat those mushrooms. Scott,
Let the
you
sap
nut
drain
job.
out. And then the next night, it'd come back and drink the fermented liquid, basically cactus moonshine. That's when the thing would appear
Cactus
intoxicated,
moonshine.
would stumble around and wail into the dark. People said its cry was eerie and sad. And its bones, it would make this dry, scratching noise when it moved. It wasn't usually aggressive toward people, but there were stories of folks waking up with scratches and welts.
no
like the creature
shadow.
had swatted them with its barbed tail. What you're looking at here is one of the
a
most
carrot.
feared creatures in all of
It's a
Japan,
carrot.
Korea, and possibly all of North
was a
America.
carrot.
This is the flying flesh carrot.
Oh.
Because that's
The flesh
kind of what
carrot?
it looks like, somewhere
The
between a
flesh
carrot and a chunk
carrot?
of raw meat. It
The
doesn't
flying
walk,
flesh
it doesn't
carrot?
crawl. Supposedly, it floats, silently gliding through the air. Most sightings come from hikers or hunters, usually in remote areas, who catch a glimpse of it drifting by and then disappearing into the trees. One of the first reports popped up on a Japanese message board in 2019. A guy claimed that he saw this thing just hovering along.
That-
Bright
yes,
orange,
that is
kind of
insanity.
fleshy, not really flying in the usual sense, just sort of existing midair. And someone else replied saying his sister caught something similar in a photo taken in
His
Korea,
sister
but he
caught
said
a
it looked
flying
less
flesh
like a
carrot.
carrot and more like a blob of meat.
a
Just
skinwalker.
what in the hell is this fleshy carrot horror? No one knows.
We're now at our fifth
No,
and halfway
no,
mark
I
with
don't.
the Toxic River. There's
Luckily.
a river that's just filled with radioactive water right near the reactor. The scariest part is,
Yeah.
despite how toxic the water is, a bunch of aquatic life live there. In particular,
Where else are they gonna
giant
go?
catfish. Yes, giant catfish. A video from 2016 shows a massive catfish swimming in the water. People originally were like, oh my god,
why is
what
it
the
not
heck
walking
is
in
that?
the water?
It must be some sort of mutated animal. Later,
Dude,
it was
I
just
don't
found
know.
out to be a giant catfish. But
No, I
still,
don't- I don't.
what the
Yeah.
heck?
They
And it's the
don't
fact that
live
they
that
have
much, no way.
adapted to be able to survive in that highly toxic water. Like, that just baffles me. Not only that, but they can thrive there because the water has no higher predators. Obviously, though, you're not allowed to go fishing there. Okay, I feel like that's a given, but I also feel like people would still try it, so I'm just gonna say it. Don't go fishing there. In our fourth spot, we have the jarfish. Speaking of fish, we're gonna go with this. So back in
the
2016,
flying
photographer
flesh-
and journalist
Hold
Miriam
on, am I
Weiser took
hallucinating.
Up with scratches and welts.
Yeah, a
like the
lot of
creature had
crazy
swatted
legends,
them with
yes.
its barbed tail. What you're looking at here is one of the most feared creatures in all of Japan, Korea, and possibly all of North America. This is the flying flesh carrot.
Yep,
'Cause
that's exactly what he said. My freaky though. I was hunting a deer once and I seen a zombie-like deer. Probably mange. That'll make him look really zombie-like.
kind of what it looks like, somewhere between a carrot and a chunk of raw meat. It doesn't walk, it doesn't crawl, supposedly it floats, silently gliding through the
disease,
air.
yeah.
Most sightings come from hikers or
Something.
hunters, usually in remote areas, who
All right, let's see. Flying flesh carrot.
She took a trip with this. So back in 2016, photographer and
Fleshgates,
journalist Miriam
devil goat
Weiser
man. Yeah,
took
yeah,
a
a lot
trip
of
to
goat
explore
man
the
stuff.
ruins of Chernobyl.
You got
While
lots of
inside
stuff
an
over
abandoned
there in
building,
Europe.
she came across something very creepy and odd. She found a bunch of fish and other specimen in jars. Why someone was collecting fish
It just
a lot of dogma,
baffles
brother.
me.
A lot of
And
dogma.
they weren't even like proper beakers or science mason jars. No, it looked like someone emptied out their jar of pickles and then used it
Hey,
to
there's your
store
pickles,
the
internet
specimen.
watcher.
I think it's
Dogma.
best if those remain
A
untouched.
dogma
Like, can you
is
imagine?
a dogma is a thought process. Not a thought process. It's a set of ordeals or ideals that people follow. Dogma definition. A definition. Dogma is a principle, belief, or set of doctrines. Yeah. Dogmen. Oh. Dogmen. I wrote dogman. I don't know why I said that. Okay. Yeah, so it's automatically I guess it thinks it's translating dogmen to dogma.
Imagine
A
how
reoccurring
stinky they would be
thing.
if they were open nowadays. They would reek. Old stinky fish is not something I would ever want to handle. Now, the other specimen beside the fish are unknown. No one knows what the heck they are. But if you know, let me know in the comments below. Coming in at number 3, we have the abandoned hospitals. The hospitals at Chernobyl are quite eerie. They're just
it's
filled
gotta be
with
crazy.
rusted,
If
empty
they're gonna
hospital
autocorrect me,
beds,
why not?
littered
It's not
syringe
autocorrect. It's auto translate. It thinks it's another language. It's AI being helpful. Yeah, it's not autocorrect. It's auto translate. You'll see next to your word, it's got this little squiggle. This little like you see the little squiggle next to your name. Like when I put my mouse over it, it says dogma there. And when I put the mouse over it, it says dogmen. So you see the little squiggle line. It's like a little Japanese character and a little A. It's auto translate. It's wackadoodle. What up, Cheryl? Welcome back. Definitely no marriage stuff. Okay, here we go.
and more. The walls and floors are cracking, and there's dirt and questionable red marks on the floor. I think the saddest thing, though, is that these hospitals are often trashed with medical supplies just tossed everywhere. The days after the explosion happened, people were frantically rushing to hospitals. Hospital staff were overwhelmed by the amount of people there. This moment is still preserved in the hospitals to this day. It's pretty dark once you think about it. And at number 2 today, we have the Sad Alley. The Sad Alley, or the Alley of Memory, is an alley in the Ukraine created in memory of the villages and residents who had to flee from their homes during the disaster. Basically, it's a walkway with signs lining the sides. These signs are names of cities and villages that had to evacuate and leave everything behind.
Villages and
It's a way to ensure we just never forget the impact that this disaster had. It's
all right. Let's see what this wackadoodle has got for us here. Probably something wackadoodle.
Good night, buddy. I love you.
Wait a minute. But today in Fortnite, I beat the Ice King, which uses the Ice King Gauntlets, which means if you do your ZL attack, it does 5 damage per second.
Oh, wow.
And then if you do the ZR attack, it does 50 damage. I play on controller, so those are my controllers.
That's good.
But other people, they use ZNX.
That actually reminds me. Today I was studying the monoamine pathway of the ascending reticular activating system, dopamine.
I'm going to go to sleep now.
Okay. All right. Good night.
Yeah, life these days.
really sad.
You
Starting
already
off this
found a
countdown,
nice
we
one. All
have
right,
the
good.
sarcophagus. Basically, this is a
1000%
massive
nicer.
steel and concrete structure that covers the Chernobyl power plant.
Sarcophagus.
It was designed to help contain the radiation. The construction of the structure lasted for 206 days, and those working on it had to work in shifts of no more than 7 minutes. Any more time spent near the reactors would have killed them. But still, they did sacrifice their lives building this because thousands of workers still died from exposure to the
7-minute
radiation.
shifts.
Those that survived
Sounds
got
like all
severely
kids- once
ill,
kids
and the
wanna do
majority of
today.
them developed
Yep.
cancer. Nowadays, the sarcophagus is still there, but it's beginning to crumble. In 2019,
You
they
miss
were in
your
the process
ex-Ukraine
of
girly?
dismantling it
Oh,
because it was
man.
going to collapse. So
7
a new
minutes.
one is
Space
currently
Cowboy's
being
like, man, I couldn't last 7 minutes. Yep, that is the definition of heroes. What, sleeping?
installed. That's probably the scariest thing in Chernobyl because of how deadly the building it's containing is. Coming in at number 9, we have the gas masks. And if you guys are liking this video or want to see part 3, then smash that like button. Chernobyl already looks like the place where an apocalypse occurred. Buildings are completely abandoned, run down, and overgrown with nature. What doesn't help is the piles upon piles of gas masks scattered all throughout Chernobyl. This really adds to the eeriness of this place. And again, makes it look like a place where a zombie or alien takeover occurred. In fact, there is one room inside a school which is just completely filled with child-sized
Oh, that was
gas
earlier.
masks.
All earlier
It's
is what all the
very
animals
creepy,
look like.
but also sad. Like, imagine how frightened the young children were when this happened. The gas
Quality
masks
work
found there are just a sad
What a
reminder of
seafood
the
diet for
horrors that
seafood
took place there
and
when
its
the
fish.
reactor
Eat it.
exploded.
What up, John
Moving on to
Goldbody?
number 8, we have the
She
rotting
talks like
toys.
she was there.
Littered all throughout the city are toys or personal belongings people had to leave behind. The saddest thing to see are pictures of children's toys left behind. Like, I just think that was probably someone's favorite little dolly. Go anywhere there and you'll find items
Yeah, that's
scattered
creepy, huh?
everywhere, now broken and covered in
She's
filth.
a little
Like,
runaway.
imagine you're rushed out of your home and have to leave behind all your personal belongings. That must have been so hard. I can't imagine how everyone must have felt. It's really depressing to think about. Moving on at number 7, we have the examination chair.
Including
so,
foreplay.
this one
Yeah,
is
foreplay minus 7 minutes is 3 minutes. She's back. I know more what really happened. There's not completely what there. She says, I'm sure.
pretty strange.
I'm sure.
But somehow, a gynecologist examination chair ended up in the middle of the woods outside of a hospital. Not only is that super weird, but it's also super creepy. It's all rusted and beat up and looks like an old torture device. Not only that, but that means someone had to go inside the abandoned hospital, find that chair, and then carry it all the way back down and into the
No
woods.
pre-show
I got a lot
battery
of
longer. I
questions.
enjoy
Why would someone do this? And how long did it take them to do this? And again, why would someone do this? Either way, it makes for a very spooky encounter. Moving on at number 6, we have the abandoned cooling tower. A partially constructed cooling tower can be found at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. They were built to evaporate the cooling water from the 2 new reactors.
Maybe you'll be
Sadly,
back. All
they
right,
were
brother.
never
Yeah, I'm probably
completed.
going to wrap it
Now,
up in a
these
couple
things
minutes,
are
actually, Scott.
Massive. The diameter was over
Rhubarb
120
pie time?
meters,
Yeah,
and it
but-
stands at 150 meters tall. Obviously,
How
after
long
the
is this
accident,
going?
there was
Yeah, this
no
is
need
going
to
another
continue
12
on
minutes.
with the
I'm probably gonna
construction
head
of
to bed
this,
after
so the
this.
government just left the towers there along with everything else. Eventually, over time, nature will have its way with it, and it will start to
Have its
erode
way
and
with
crumble.
it.
It's just crazy seeing all these
What up,
abandoned
Drong, brother?
infrastructures. Imagine how life would have been if that
right,
explosion
brother Scott.
never happened.
Now we have this gray mound of rock near Weldon Spring, Missouri. It doesn't look all that interesting, but the backstory is pretty nuts. During World War II, the site was used to produce
said you got pretty
explosives.
nuts.
Then in the 50s and 60s, uranium was enriched for nuclear weapons at the facility. The problem was, when the operation shut down in the late 60s, they didn't really clean up. There were
Nope, ain't
piles
making
of
no money
uranium,
cleaning up.
radium, TNT, and asbestos left behind. It was just this giant toxic mess.
What
If
does she
someone were to
mean?
fall
Surely
into
it was
it,
gonna
they'd end up
explode at one
like
point
that
or
dude in RoboCop. So to deal with it, the government decided to cover it all up. Not in
Hey,
a
that sounds like what
conspiratorial
governments
sense. I
do
mean,
all the
literally
time.
just cover it up. They built a giant hill to seal in all the radioactive waste and chemical debris. This mound is now called the Weldon Springs Site Remedial Action Project Disposal Cell. But locals have just nicknamed it the Nuclear Waste Adventure Trail. Today, people can visit the site, climb to the top of the mound, and get a view of the surrounding area. There's really not much to see other than grass out in the distance, but I guess it's cool to stand on. The hill is used by bird watchers
That's
as well,
right.
and amateur astronomers who just like looking at the clear skies at night. I can't say that this would be my go-to spot on like a pleasant nature walk. I get that it's supposedly totally safe now, but I don't know. I still wouldn't want to spend too much time in a place like this. According to one former security guard, though, they spent years working at the site without
Why
any
was
major
Rebecca
health
Tepper
problems.
burning herself?
Still,
It's a good question. It's a good question. Good question. Politicians as kids just kick stuff under their bed and called it clean. Cover up. I've been reading on OBS Studio. Apparently, it's free. Although they were right. It would take me a few months to learn OBS. StreamYard is plug and play. Right. So StreamYard is going to sell you the ease of use. They basically take OBS, add a bunch of plugins to it and whatnot, and make and put it on their own servers. So then they have a front end, a website you use to control it. There's also Prism. There's a lot. There's a lot you can use, but if you want to learn it, you learn OBS. But if you want to start streaming, use StreamYard or Prism, whatever, to get started. But yeah, if you want to be able to do work for other people, you want to learn some of the tools. But yeah, you don't need to learn it. You don't need to learn it. Space Milk Boy. His new name's Dick.
It's a pretty
No, it's
weird
not
spot
Space
for
Cow.
a tourist attraction. This is archival footage of a nuclear test being carried out at a site called Maralinga in Australia. The British government carried out a series of nuclear tests here between 1956 and 1963. 7 nuclear explosives were detonated above ground, along with over 600 minor trials. These minor tests were anything but harmless, though. They involved experiments with plutonium, uranium, and other toxic stuff that spread contamination across the area. The fallout impacted not just the test site, but also nearby Aboriginal communities, many of whom were never properly warned or relocated. And the cleanup, which didn't start until...
Yeah. Right, because that's what everybody uses, and it's free. It's open source and it's free, and it only takes you a couple minutes. And I'll help you. Like, it's not. It won't be difficult. It won't be difficult. You'll once you understand the first 3 things you have to do, you just repeat that a whole bunch of times. Is freemium, right. Yeah. So that's what allows you this stuff to pop up on the screen and stuff. That's a server that runs on your computer that takes the chat off the internet and puts it on your computer and combines them. So like I have Twitch, Kick, and YouTube, and it combines all of the chats and then I can select them. I can click on them, and it makes a web page that looks like this message right here. And then so when I click on it, it opens that web page with a clear background. You know, so it kind of not really. It's a bunch of automation tools put together. Ikune? Is it? Nuke's a banned word? Yeah. So that just gives you, the only thing I use it for is when I switch to my phone, to be able to use my phone as a camera inside of OBS. I use that to connect my phone to the screen. And then I use it for the chat, so I can do these, so I can pop up people's chats on screen. But I mean, you don't need that stuff. But if you want the chat to pop
Decades
up on
later,
screen,
it's
you
been
need something like
heavily
it.
criticized.
There's
At
lots
one
of
point,
options.
workers
It's the best one I
just
can find for
bulldozed
free.
contaminated soil into pits and buried it. Some plutonium-contaminated areas were only partially cleaned and still are a risk today. Even after remediation, scientists have found radioactive particles spread far beyond the core test zones. Maralinga is technically open to visitors now, and some tours are available, but access is limited, which is a good thing. Long-term effects of the testing on the indigenous people here.
I mean, listen. There's constantly people making new things to add to OBS. So I'm in no way a master of all things OBS. I'm pretty good at I can open it up from completely blank and create things very easily, go through it. But yeah, I'm pretty good. I wouldn't say master, but if I spent a couple more months on it, I could master it. But people are constantly making new plugins and whatnot that do different things that I know nothing about yet. But I'm pretty good with it, but I'm not a master.
Is still not addressed all that well.
Yeah.
And the full health impact still isn't fully known. It's isolated, but it's one of the most contaminated places in the southern hemisphere. This is footage taken in what's called a radon health mine. So this is a place where people pay to inhale radioactive gas for health reasons. The one you're looking at here happens to be in Germany, but Montana is really the place to go if you want to try this out for yourself, which I wouldn't do, but some swear by it. So in Montana, there are a handful of abandoned uranium mines that have been repurposed into these radon health mines. These mines naturally emit radon gas, which is radioactive and is said to increase your risk of cancer. But for decades, some people have believed that short-term exposure can actually help with conditions like arthritis, asthma, and just chronic pain. So instead of avoiding it, visitors pay to spend hours underground sitting in folding chairs just breathing it in. It's not backed by any major medical organizations, and the long-term effects here are questionable at best. Radon is a known carcinogen, and the Environmental Protection Agency lists it as the second leading cause of lung cancer in the U.S. Gotta say, this has to be one of the strangest uses of a radioactive site. This was the Baker Event nuclear test conducted at Bikini Atoll on July 25th of 1946. Bikini Atoll, part of the Marshall Islands in the Pacific, was used by the United States as a nuclear testing site after World War II. Between 1946 and 1958, the U.S. detonated 23 nuclear weapons here, including some of the most powerful ever tested. The most infamous was Castle Bravo in 1954, which ended up being more than twice as powerful as expected and spread radioactive fallout across a much wider area than they'd planned. Nearby islanders weren't given proper warning and were exposed to high levels of radiation. Some were relocated, but the long-term effects were pretty bad, mainly increased cancer rates and, again, birth defects. To this day, the area is uninhabitable. Some former residents have been allowed some short visits, but nobody actually lives here full time. Oddly, though, they tried to promote Bikini as a great place to dive. To be fair, the lagoon is filled with shipwrecks from World War II, but that's because it was a fleet used as nuclear target practice. I don't know if this would be the first place on my list of diving destinations. This is Lop Nur in Xinjiang, China. It's a dried up lake bed also known as the Sea of Death. For decades, this was China's main nuclear testing site. Starting in the 60s all the way up to 1996, they ran 45 nuclear tests out here. They dropped explosives from planes, they did underground detonations, and blew up hydrogen bombs. It's super remote, which made it ideal for military use, but that didn't mean people weren't being affected. Some of the blasts released huge clouds of radioactive dust, and to this day, no one really knows the full impact on people or the environment. After the last test in 1996, the site went quiet. Until recently, in late 2023, satellite images showed some new construction popping up. Roads, fences, some buildings. Some think China's getting ready to start testing again, which the government has, of course, denied. This right here is what's known as one of the most radioactive areas of Chernobyl. That's saying a lot. After the explosion in 1986, a lot of the melted core material ended up pooling.
I got one. It's about a foot tall, 12 inches. Yeah, it's going to take a while. Yep, I probably won't be around, but somebody will.
Underneath the plant, one of the most dangerous things left behind
and they can
is
kill people by falling over on them. It's one of the only cactuses that kills people, not by poisoning. Saguaro cactus killing people. Death by cactus. 27-year-old David Grundman was killed in Arizona when cactus plugging, the act of shooting protected cactuses. After shooting a smaller cactus, he targeted a 26-foot tall specimen estimated to be 100 years old. Standing too close, he fired till a 500-pound arm snapped off and crushed him. He was crushed and impaled by the plant's spines. Crazy. Lamau, you cannot pay me enough to go to the ocean. I've been in it twice shallow, but frankly, I'm not interested. One was a small kid. I scuba dive. Well, I haven't gone in a long time, but I like it. That's pretty cool. You have to have your own and put them in places that you like. But I mean, if you don't like plants, I don't like them. And I only got that second because the boat had a mat and I could sit on it. I did not want my legs dangling in those waters. Yeah, done. Killed him dead. Killed him dead. Death by cactus. Yep. Goods from the woods.
Now known as the elephant's foot, this giant solid mass of radioactive goo made up of melted nuclear fuel, metal, sand, and concrete. It got the name because of the way it looks, like a huge wrinkled lump. It kind of looks like elephant skin. At the time it formed.
So if it's got a carpet and everything, if I'm going into a new build or a remodel that doesn't have floors or anything, I'll spray it. But if it's got carpets and everything and I can't spray, yeah, I cut in with a brush about 4 inches, around the ceiling, around the trim and everything. I'll do that with a brush. And then I'll roll the walls, because if you paint the walls with a brush, you get brush lines everywhere. Yes, right. Don't shoot protected stuff, right? You ready to eat some? Don't mess with Mother Nature. You know 100% what you're doing when doing that crap like that. If you don't got a purpose, leave it. He was cactus plugging.
It was extremely radioactive. Just standing near it for a few minutes back then would have killed you. Photos were taken by bouncing cameras off mirrors that no one had to get too close. The surface was so hot that it was physically burning through the floors. These days, it's cooled down a lot, and it's not instantly lethal anymore, but it's still dangerously radioactive, and it's locked away deep inside the ruins.
Do you know
of
how
the
to
plant.
get?
This is footage of one of the
Yeah. So using a roller tray. So the best thing you can do, is you can get a grate, a roller grate. So you get a 5-gallon bucket and only put about a gallon of paint in it, and then there's a roller grate, paint rolling grate, 5-gallon bucket. Right here. So they're right here. They look like this, and they clip onto your bucket. So you dip the roller into the bucket, and then you just roll it on this a few times, and it sprays the excess paint off. Then when you roll it on the wall, it doesn't have the excess paint to spray and to drip. Yeah, it goes in it just like that. Just like this right here. So you get when you go to buy paint, buy an empty 5-gallon bucket and one of these rolling grates. So then you dip it in to soak the roller. Then you roll it down a few times, just like lift it, ring, and that'll spray the excess off. And then you can, that's the best way to do it. How bored do you have to be to go into that? Probably drunk, Catra. I can only imagine being either way. We use survival water situation. Old West era. Okay, knife for that, right? I wish the paint wasn't so expensive. What up, honeybee? Do you recall your loyalty? Yep, rolling grate. Yep. Sometimes called a grid, but great. Yeah, rolling grate. And it just clips onto the 5-gallon bucket. Yeah, and then you can hang, like here it is in use right here. Here it is in use right there. Yeah. And that way, when you're done, you just unhook it. You unhook it and let it fall into the paint, and then you can put your roller in there also, because it's only got, gonna have a gallon worth of paint in it or less after you've used it. Then you put the lid on. Then your paint won't dry out, your roller won't dry out or anything like that. And when you're ready to roll again, you just pull the lid off, and ready to go. Yep, you can definitely get it on Amazon. Yep. You should be able to get them anywhere paint sold. That's a standard thing for like painters. Yep. That was a good one. Hey, honeybee. How you doing, girl?
reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant exploding. So on March 11th, 2011, there was a massive 9.0 earthquake off the coast of Japan. This caused a giant tsunami which hit the power plant. The plant was designed to shut down automatically during emergencies like earthquakes, but the tsunami flooded the backup generators, which were supposed to keep the reactors cool. And with no power, the cooling system failed, and over the next few hours, the reactors started to overheat. The pressure built up, and 3 of the reactors went into full meltdown. Hydrogen gas built up inside the reactors, and eventually it exploded, sending radioactive material into the air. The fallout spread to nearby towns, and thousands had to evacuate. The ocean got contaminated as well. And on top of that, there were more nuclear emergencies, including a radioactive leak into a wastewater storage pool. Cleanup is still happening. It could take more than 40 years to fully decommission the plant. While the reactors have been shut down, the area around Fukushima is still heavily contaminated. Large parts are still off limits. This is footage of workers cleaning up radioactive sludge from the K East Basin. The K East Basin was a large pool at the Hanford site in Washington, D.C. It stored used nuclear fuel from a reactor called the N reactor. It was built in the 50s close to the Columbia River, which made it risky if anything leaked. Well, over time, the fuel started to break down, creating a thick radioactive sludge at the bottom of the pool. The basin became heavily contaminated, and it was getting concerning, so the U.S. Department of Energy decided that it needed to be cleaned up. Workers removed the fuel and sludge over the course of years.
I think you get them by watching videos. They YouTube awards them to you, or you can buy them. But if you didn't buy them, yeah, it's just from watching videos.
Once the cleanup was done, they drained the water and filled the basin with grout to prevent anything left inside from spreading. These workers were vacuuming about 55 cubic yards of radioactive ooze. They stood on grates suspended above the 20-foot deep basin and used vacuuming equipment at the end of long poles. You'll notice there are also shots from the underwater cameras that they used to help guide their work. Off the coast of Greece, there was this story about a pale, mutated, misshapen dolphin. So this photo here was snapped by a man named Harvey Robertson, a Scottish tourist on a boat cruise. It does look pretty damn strange. I mean, if someone in a lab coat showed me this image and said it was a radioactive dolphin, I'd probably believe them. The image first surfaced on cryptid forums where fishermen and beachgoers came forward saying they'd seen it near the Ionian Sea areas, rumored to contain dumped cruise ship waste. Zoologist Dr. Darren Naish from the University of Southampton's National Oceanography Center thinks that if someone took a skin sample from this thing, though, it would probably show a lot of polyvinyl chloride, basically plastic.
PVC.
So, yeah, he doesn't really think this creature is real.
F
but
button mean?
what do you think?
Anyone know? Or is it? I don't even know what it is. No, is it? I don't know. Let's see. I gotta have gems. I don't think I can give myself gems though. Paparazzi gold journey. Disco party, lemon, press F. I don't know. It just says press F. Yeah, I got no idea. When I Google search an image of it, nothing came back as usual. Let's see. Maybe you're not a professional like I am. Let's see. YouTube live stream gift F button. Gift F button. Oops. Yeah, no, it doesn't say anything. That's right. It doesn't say anything. Wow. When you buy jewels, you can send them as gifts. Yeah, it doesn't say. Man, no, I couldn't find anything either. Hey, they got 1,000 subscriber button. I don't have one of them. Yeah, let's see. Let's just see if we can find out gifts. All right, gifts. Let's see if we can find out if there's a list of them. They're a penny each. Oh, you earn rubies. These gifts appear as on-screen animations, real-time interaction, and earn creators rubies, a penny each. Okay, how it works. Viewers buy jewels in YouTube Mobile to send gifts. Okay, I guess they buy them. You must accept virtual items. Gifts are converted into rubies, which are valued at one. So, that's so crazy. Yep. No, it's not. It's for people to buy that don't have 100,000 subs to get one. It's going to take me probably till the end of the year. I would never spend a penny on something like that. Even say, yeah. Get yourself take care of yourself. Don't buy crap like that unless you can afford it. Like when I had money, I gifted when nice things happened. When I had money to give, it's like same thing when I went to the bar. I'd buy people beers and drinks and whatnot. Can't afford it now. Oops. Is that it? Oh, I guess that was it. Okay, let's see. Wow, that was perfect timing. Perfect timing. Right. Yeah.
Everyone?
Holy crap. Damn. American houses made out of paper.
For those who don't take safety gear seriously, here's a powerful example of why it can be life-saving.
What did he do? Jeez. Oh man, I love to give and share, but I'm going from privilege to poverty overnight. Clearly estimates that's clearly eliminates that's an option. Yeah, understood. Yeah, well, let's see if we can get you back to privilege. Oh, you're fired for not wearing your helmet.
Well, then we'll have you on your way quick.
Man, go arrest that guy.
I've been banging on that door. I can't get whoever's in that house out.
Yo, back up!
I think we're gonna bust this window.
No, hold on, watch out.
That thing won't open.
Yeah, it will.
Anybody in the house?
Damn, did you happen to see what I posted on your community?
All right, we gotta get away. Come on. You're good, pup. Come on. Go.
Command, firecrackers in the garage, R3. We have heavy fire in the attic space. We're hitting it from underneath right now.
Trucks arrived. You want us to set up for defensive operations?
Hey, community. No, I didn't see that. Wow, no, I did not see that. Jeez Louise. Hold on, let's show that to everybody. Hold on. No. When you ended the stream, some fascinating thing happened. Reflection in your glasses, so I took a screenshot. I thought you put a googly eye effect on it, but it was really just something happened. Yeah, it's my ring light. Wow, hold on. Okay, check this out. Wow, that's freaking awesome. Let's see. Oh, come on. There we go. Wow, that's awesome. Wow, that's freaking amazing. Community. Wow, I wonder why I didn't get a notification of it. Oh, wow. Wow, you did that fast too. Wow, that's amazing. Wow, that's really freaking good. That's awesome. That's so freaking awesome. That's really neat. Really, really good. Really cool. I really, really like it. I really like it. Dang, no, I had no idea. I gotta freaking... I wonder why I'm not notified of that. I'd put it up on a mug and drink it. No, absolutely. That's happening. That's happening. That's awesome. Damn, that's so awesome. That is so awesome. All right, hold on. Let's do a screenshot with it real quick. Let's do a screenshot. Let me grab it. Bam. I don't think creators ever get notified when somebody posts their... Yeah, that's odd. You think that it would like say... It would let you know multiple times. Like, hey, asshole, people are posted on your community tab. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Let's do this. Let's do snipping tool. That control N. That's so awesome. There we go. All right. Bam. Save as. Posts. Let's go back here. Back. Oops. Pictures. Where's new? Boom. Boom. And this is going to be... That's really awesome. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's so freaking cool. No, I really do. I really do like it. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really cool. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't see it. Hey, I appreciate it.
During the earthquake in Bangkok, construction workers were still at the top of a skyscraper. It's hard to imagine what they went through in those moments, but thankfully, everyone made it out safely.
Man, I wonder if there's people in those phones.
If you don't work in IT, keep scrolling. Okay, now that they're gone, how are we doing?
I gotta turn
How
on
many?
what's it called, dude? That's so awesome. No way. They're freaking so lucky. You can't park there.
Hey, come towards me. Come towards me.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That was Bangkok, the earthquake. That, I don't know where that was. Somewhere in America. Did he miss it or did he catch it? Damn, that's gotta be so... What up, John, brother? There he goes.
That awkward moment when the
Damn.
rescuer ended up needing a rescue. Good thing his partner was in great shape.
That's gonna be hard to get on. Auto Tupaco!
Perhaps the strangest interception in history. A police officer somehow managed to shout loud enough for the crew of a submarine to hear him, and convince the criminals to surrender. Who would have thought a
Criminals,
simple order
wow.
would prove stronger than
I
an
found John on
armored
Twitter.
suit?
Hey, yeah, that's cool. That ain't police, that's military. Damn.
These guys were working on a wind turbine when a storm suddenly rolled in.
Damn.
They tried to
Oh,
stabilize
they're at the
it,
bottom
but nothing
still.
helped.
Dude, it's most
Now they just
definitely
have to
your
wait
avatar.
until the wind
Dude.
calms down.
calling his wife. He's like, I love you. Oh, damn.
The rescuers' unconventional decision to use an excavator proved to be exactly the right call, and credit where it's due.
Holy crap, that dude's got balls on. Oh, Lord, somebody stole your pick. All right, brother, you have a good night, Drong, brother.
Getting people out of a current that powerful is no easy feat. The driver clearly knew what he was doing.
Damn. Good night, brother.
That roof's caving in, Manny.
them right now.
Yep. Dude, it caved in right where they went in, man. That ain't good. Look at that's falling. I know.
Jeez.
You guys got two in there. You got two in there.
No way. Oh, man, it shifted. I wonder what all that is. It's gotta be heavy. Jeez. Look at that guy. Did you see him walking around? Can you share with me the tag of the person? Yeah, let us know. Yeah, you got Honeybee. You can post it on the or send it to John on the Discord. Yeah, you can send it to him on the Discord. Oh man, a lot of thunder happening right now. Now what are you gonna do? Your roof's collapsing. What are you gonna do? It's collapsing. You better get out of there. That's wild. Someone's using my pick out of the blue. That's crazy. Oh, its wheels just flew off.
Thanks. That was the problem.
Yeah. Where were you?
You're about to get hit.
Jeez.
Man.
He wants to go home tonight.
Okay, so crazy idea. We're getting tons of international interest. A global rollout would be a huge hit.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like, hey, I'm about to hit you, dude. Don't run off the hill. Oh, look at that snake up there.
ไม่หน่วยจับงูไม่มาพี่ระวังนะไม่ช้อนให้มันออกไอ้ตัว
Damn.
มาแล้วจับไม้ไว้
Usually it's people who need rescuing from pythons,
Right.
but this time it was the other way round. The snake probably won't be sending a thank you note, but these firefighters definitely earned some good karma.
Don't want to jump on it.
Police officers get all kinds of unusual calls. And judging by how fast they moved, this wasn't the first alligator they dealt with.
If you want, if they want to bring him out here and let them touch it, they can. We got him under control if you want.
making sure.
Stop on A train.
Oh, right.
Yeah, just wave it like this.
What else they're using your pick for?
Come, hand him to me. Just hand him to me.
That's gonna be the weightlifter guy.
You got him, Trent.
Yeah, who are you gonna contact? Right? Who are you gonna contact? It's gone. I recall pirate TV stations and radio stations, yeah. And you went down to follow her. Dun, 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 gone.
Stay right here.
Oh. Hold on, what? Was that a cop car? Oh, it is a cop car. Yeah, that dude's gotta be freaking hammered. My car is dead. I want to get something cheap that will last a couple of years until my retirement and get a good vehicle. I mean, yeah, listen, Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, Toyota Camry, Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic, those are like the number two. My brother had a Corolla. It lasted forever. It had no radiator in it, and we got it home from Baltimore to Glen Burnie, Maryland, 15-mile drive with no radiator, and ran the air conditioning, and it ran. The Honda Civic, and there's a lot of them. Yeah, so let's see. Used Honda Civic, state of Maine. Yeah, used. Yeah, okay, so it says around under 11,000 or around 11,000, but I'm guessing you can find it way cheaper than that. Like, yeah, if you find a 2010, yeah, like, and you know, like, I'd get one over 100,000 miles, no problem. 140,000 miles, no problem. 150,000. I mean, I don't know how much you drive, but if you're putting about 10,000 miles on it a year, it'll last you to 200,000 miles most likely. This is nuts, but maybe if you were, I would Google search your avatar. Right, you could do a Google image search of your avatar. The early import Hondas use motorcycle engines. Really? That's freaking cool. What up, Thadiel, brother? Do you know someone named Penny Treat? Honeybee One. What up, Avery, brother? I don't post anything after the first 10 messages or so. Only use they get free shit and games for linking accounts. I don't know. I've used this pixel. No. It's cheap. They're cheap to fix. Wish I would have taken a screenshot. Right? Yeah, no, they're cheap to fix. And Toyotas are cheap to fix too, because there's millions of them on the road. Alright, let me see if I can find one. Let's see if we can find like a 2015. Let's just say 2008. Let's say 2008. Oops. Okay, whatever, 7, there we go. Yeah, under $8,000. Under $8,000. Okay, so let's see what we can find. I don't know what's going on. Oh, it's trying to find near me. If you had to be a cat and you had to have dinner with a dinosaur, what kind of food would you have if you're not hungry? Crisps or Bloods? Probably 4chan. Yeah. Also, it's not finding, but yeah. So 2008's usually between 2,900 and 8,000, depending on mileage and condition. Okay, here you go. Here's one 2008 near Maine, 150,000 miles for $9,000. Here's one for 100,000 miles for $6,000. Here's one with 133,000 miles for 4,200. Yeah. You can find something for probably under $4,000, definitely under $5,000. Apparently, my pick is something I shouldn't lose some weight and become a Calvin Klein model or something. There you go. Do it, brother. Good choice. 4chan. That's so freaking awesome. A hot commodity or a beard oil model. All right, let's see. Did you ever figure out what was the button? Nope, never. Did you ever build a restaurant on the moon? Great food. No atmosphere. Glad to help. Oops. Look at that lifting granite or marble. Granite. Jeez.
I do that, man.
The call from a bank usually means one thing, a robbery. But when the cops arrived, they found something very different.
Oh, wow.
Catching a terrified animal inside a locked building without hurting it, or getting hurt themselves, is no easy job. But these guys handled it perfectly.
Back out the window. Damn. I wonder if the guy that created Crouch the Spinach was thinking outside the box. Freaking Cheryl. I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me. Outside the box. Good thinking, guys.
Watch out.
Those are canisters, gas canisters, or those oiled cans. See the alligator that ate someone online. Yes, it's like a 50-year-old somebody. They were flying the corpse out of the alligator that had the body in it. It was a 15-alarm fire in New Jersey 2 days ago from a mattress factory. Started from a welding accident. Jeez. Alligator killed man. 47-year-old was killed. That's not it. Helicopter. Yeah, right here. South Africa. Yeah, here it is, flying it out. South African police airlift massive crocodile suspected of eating the missing man. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, here he is right here. Yeah, he ate a person. Big. Look how big the alligator is compared to like the freaking probably 6-foot guy on that line. Like this guy. Oh, this guy right here is probably about 6 foot. And look at this thing. Yeah, a whole person. Yeah. Yep. Look at this freaking guy. I think it was an alligator.
Looking at this footage, the phrase high voltage suddenly takes on a whole new meaning.
Crocodile. Yep, crocodile. Sorry. Yep, crocodile.
Yo, lá check ça,
I typed in alligator and then crocodile. Yep. Oops, some Brooks in there too. Oops. Oh, they killed it. They put a bullet in it, I'm sure.
Rather have a table with $1 million or a table with a book on how to make $1 million?
I'd rather just have a table, so that way I'll take the table and sell it for like $50, get 2 tables, sell it, and then I can make 4 tables. And
would you rather have a table with $1 million or a table with a book on how to make $1 million?
I'd rather just have a table, so that way I'll take the table and sell it for like $50, get 2
Get $50, get 2 tables, make $100.
Chala.
I saw a crocodile get a calf in Costa Rica. Jeez. Look at that, man. Jeez. And it's slippery. Jeez, man. Oh, what are you supposed to be able to see? Oh, that's gotta be like a freaking big old oil.
I hope this guy gets a solid paycheck and an early retirement.
Uh-oh, there you go. This is why people eat them.
It's not every day firefighters have to rescue a dog stranded on an ice floe, but this guy handled it like a true professional.
Where would they go?
Five, 6, ready. If you roll rescue, this email's confused. I want to check out.
There you go. I wouldn't do it.
What's up?
Would you still love me if I was a worm? Of course, Andy. I'd put you on my favorite hook. That's not gonna be good. Jesus. Man. Bit my cheek. No, I don't have a favorite hook. I'd have to get myself one.
Emergency landing in Alaska. Due to severe weather conditions, a Saab 2000 overran the airfield, crossed a road, and came to a stop right on the edge of the bay.
Damn. Future wife. Oh, there you go. Then I'll put the fire out. My future wife. There she is.
Ocean, the silly goober artist. Thank you. Thank you.
Damn, Grandma's playing Minecraft.
Looks nice. Looks nice. Okay.
Not ending until I beat Minecraft. Grandma Crackers.
Fill in with some sand.
Grandma Crackers. What up the core, brother? Dun, 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 dun. Something bad's happened. Oh, you're drilling for oil or something? That's in a pocket of gas. Damn. My family says I'm old enough not to play video games. Yeah. Show them that video, brother. Show them that video.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah. Come on, attaboy. Good boy.
Good boy. Big old bear.
Go. Come on, go. Back. Кто там? Там люди там.
drop it. Yeah, get on it, Space Cow.
Yeah, пойдем, пойдем. Be careful, man.
Going back in.
All right. Oh, you did. You did. Bye.
Damn.
Sometimes bad luck and good luck go hand in hand. A white sedan got stuck in the snow right on a railroad crossing. Luckily, police officers happened to be nearby at that exact moment and managed to rescue the driver.
Jesus. Fuck. Parte. Ahead.
Damn, that's gonna be real expensive. Last you played was Far Cry 6. Now you gotta wait till you get out of the house.
Oh, hala! Hala, bata! Oh my God!
Safety first written on the front of it.
Oh my God! Ang bata!
Man, what did they do? Oh, all the load is on the left-hand side. Ah, that was dumb. They should have put that right down the middle. No. Somebody's about to be in trouble. Damn.
Dealing with the aftermath of accidents involving heavy construction equipment is far more complicated than it might seem.
Get the crane to get the crane. Man.
This isn't just an impressive looking video. It shows a specific firefighting technique called a water shield, used to shield firefighters from a backdraft.
Jesus.
You okay?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Poor thing. Oh,
it's death bowling.
That's so cool. I'm so poor thing.
I've never seen him before. I know.
Jesus, Space Cow. No, but I can still get
This firefighter's about to become a
Jeez,
local
freaking
hero,
Cheryl.
and honestly,
Do
he
you recall
deserves
how to
it.
contact extraterrestrial life? You stick your finger in something. In your dude. Uh-oh. What you doing, buddy? You bet that dude's still in the driver's seat. What are you doing, dude? What is that dude doing? He's still in the driver's seat. Ah, yeah. Holy crap. You doing that on purpose? No way. How you gonna get out of there, buddy?
Looks like some of the people in our compilation could use a lesson or two from this pro. A true masterclass in extreme driving.
Here's the one that blew up on us last time.
You know what that means. The one that blew up on us last time.
Holy.
Let's see. Jesus. That's a lot of grain. That means more graham crackers.
Ano iba kani pagbetul kana?
Which one, Space Cow? I've got many. The only English word I heard was crazy. If I saw an extraterrestrial, you would pass out. Not anymore. I used to drink it a lot as a kid. Fizzy pop. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Don't touch that, buddy.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, you better back that off, dude.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he turned away. He doesn't want us watching a video.
Gee.
On Doug.
A small motorboat capsized 40 miles offshore. Within less than 6 minutes of arriving, rescuers pulled all 4 people from the water.
Jeez. She had a cowboy hat on.
Bravo! In situations like this, every second counts.
Jeez, dude. There's no way that's that downhill. He's got to be tilting the camera. Balloop.
2式量房一查。
Office work doesn't seem dangerous until nature decides otherwise. This footage was captured during an earthquake in Japan, with its epicenter in the Pacific Ocean about 70 kilometers off the coast. It's considered one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded.
Put the mask on, buddy. Get some air.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is Base 44. This is the first...
Sometimes the classic methods beat modern technology.
So it's
in places
another-
where boring machines can't carve a
virus
path,
that has-
tunnels are blasted through with
spike proteins on it. So yes, you definitely want vitamin C and zinc, definitely vitamin D, but to clear the virus quicker, you want bromelain. Bromelain dissolves the spike protein in all coronaviruses. The spike protein is what allows it to enter other cells. So if you have bromelain in your system, it can't do that. I'll call it how to stop being stupid. Yeah, you always lose. So I'll show you. Yeah, from rats. I'll show you, brother. So go to my website, 110thgrade.com, okay? And then click on vitamins. And you'll see this is what I take right here. Quercetin with bromelain. And so bromelain, quercetin, vitamin C. Here. Quercetin, vitamin C. So quercetin helps vitamin C in your system work better. It works with it to do what vitamin C needs to do. I got merch, DJ. Yep. So vitamin C has enhances its bioavailability. So people that take vitamin C tablets and stuff, and even from oranges, you're putting vitamin C in your mouth, but you're just pooping a lot of it out. It doesn't absorb well through your intestinal tract, even people that are healthy. So you need something like quercetin to help vitamin C absorb. So that'll raise your levels of vitamin C just from the food you're already eating. And then bromelain and spike protein. And bromelain from pineapple has shown potential in reducing the spike protein. It breaks down the protein, it cleaves it so that viruses can't bind to host cells. All right, let's see. All right. What up, mouse? Oops, I broke that too. Broke that too. Where did I break? Oh, come on. There we go. I am right.
Holy shit, that is fucked up. But then this what the fuck, this game? What the fuck?
Hey, John Goldbody, come swinging in, brother. Hey, damn, brother. Jeez. Damn, thank you, freaking John Goldbody, man. Thank you, brother. Man, John Golbani, freaking sponsor of the 110th grade. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. Space Cowboy got scammed. Yes, that's freaking great. Thank you, John, brother. The world. Thanks, John Golbani.
With dynamite, a job that demands surgical precision and nerves of steel.
He's got dink of steel. The dinks of steel. That's gotta be China. Man, can you imagine being on that thing? Boom. Keep filming, dude. Keep filming. Jeez. John Golbani.
Julio, la vez agarrando. Concha de guau. Se me enredó los piensos, güey.
You can say that again.
Oh, qué lindo, concha de madre. Aquí a veces hay gente de...
Do you recall Kyle Luff? I can't even pronounce it. I don't know what you're trying to say. Kyle Loftis? Kyle Loftis? Kyle Loftis?
Sí, ya. ¿Qué pasó? Ahorita Entonces uno no salió ahí. Sí. Ya no se vaya de ahí.
Rattlesnake.
No vamos a filmar acá. ¿Viste que se vaya? Mira. Acá usted sigue. ¿Viste cómo se vaya? Mira.
Is that moose? Damn. Who's Kyle Loftus? I don't even understand what you're trying to say, Space Cow. Kyle Loftus? Let's see. Oh no. Uh-oh. He died 8 hours ago. Founder of 1320 Video. I don't even know what 1320 Video was. Damn, he was 34. What's 1320 Video? Motorplex, TX2K. An incredible person and pioneer, a passion drive for the community. How did he die? How do you die? I mean, overdose? Cancer? John Golbani gave you one there, Jesse. John Golbani. Cause of death. Platform events. Okay, what is there? Oh, he died in a crash. Oh, wow. Severe car crash in California. And while filming a 1,000 horsepower Supra during a roll race, the car lost control, hit it, caught fire, both survived. Kyle was able to exit the vehicle, the car was destroyed. Oh, and then he died. Wow. John Gold Johnny. John Bon Gold Giovanni. Devoe. Damn. Wow. Let's watch the update.
I don't care if you're Muslim or Mongolian. You don't have the right to force your culture.
Muslim or
Kyle from
Mongolian.
1320 video was in a bad car accident. Yeah, he was in a bad super crash. It was in
Damn.
California. They were filming a roll race, like street race type thing, and unfortunate. The car was right-hand drive. I think that's what both of the people in the car lived, but it was really bad for the driver on the right-hand drive car. Like it hit really
What do you
bad.
think happened? They just lost control?
So people are saying that he went from third to second gear and he never pressed the clutch back in. So like he was doing a third gear roll. Car started to get spin, get out of control. He was about to go to fourth and being on the other side of the car shifted to second and the back end of the car just kicked out, went right into a pole. The GoPro footage that it flew out of the windshield of the car, landed in the grass. It's literally filming the car on fire.
Yeah.
Like if they didn't have people, and a lot of people bailed too because they were not wanting to be there when the cops showed up.
Yeah, you could hear cars taking off.
And that's really, in my opinion, that's horrible. But a truck supposedly pushed the car over, and they were able to get him out.
Did they get ejected?
No, they were in the car. I think Kyle got out pretty quick. Everyone was saying that he was able to get out of that side of the car because it wasn't as mangled, but the owner of the car was trapped in there while it was on fire. So they were able to get him out and save him.
Kyle started 1320 video.
He did. Yeah. I've been watching him for years. Like he has some of the coolest, like documented, like racing videos, drag racing, street racing. Doesn't matter what it is. He kind of got Cletus started with his whole thing. So he's just been around for a long time. And when we went to Texas 2K last year, he was there filming, just getting like really good content. It was cool. Like he's a good dude.
Wow. So I mean, he's been
well, we it was open topic, but Space Cow mentioned about this guy, the creator of 1320 video, died. He got into a car wreck. It looks like it was in the end of January, and apparently he died today. And they were showing the video from the GoPro that got ejected from the car and what happened.
Kyle from 1320 video was in a bad car accident. Yeah, he was in a bad super crash. It was in California. They were filming a roll race, like street race type thing. And unfortunate. The car was right-hand drive. I think that's what both of the people in the car lived, but it was really bad for the driver on the right-hand drive car. Like it hit really bad.
What do you think happened? They just lost control?
So people are
that's
saying
the
that he went
GoPro
from
laying
third
in the grass
to
filming
second
it.
gear, and he never pressed the clutch back in.
We're waiting
like,
to try to find out. Like he walked away from the crash and talked to people, but like he died today. This was like a month ago. I don't know. Maybe that's not the cause. Maybe it's make I don't. Yeah, that's a good question.
A third gear roll. Car started to get spin, get out of control. He was about to go to fourth, and being on the other side of the car, shifted to second, and the back end of the car just kicked out, went right.
So he was in a right-hand drive. Normally in America, we're in the left seat when we're driving. But so apparently he tried to shift from third to fourth, but shifted from third to second because he was shifting with his left hand rather than his right hand. And then so that caused the tires to either lock up or spin. He broke traction, lost control, and hit the pole. But
into a pole. The GoPro footage that it flew out of the windshield of the car, landed in the grass. It's literally filming the car on fire. Yeah. Like if they didn't have people, and a lot of people bailed too because they were not wanting to be there when the cops showed up.
Yeah, you could hear cars taking off.
And that's really, in my opinion, that's horrible. But a truck supposedly pushed the car over, and they were able to get him out.
Did they get ejected?
No, they were in the car. I think Kyle got out pretty quick. Everyone was saying that he was able to get out of that side of the car because it wasn't as mangled, but the owner of the car was trapped in there while it was on fire. So they were able to get him out and save him.
Kyle started 1320 video.
He did. Yeah, I've been watching him for years. Like he has some of the coolest, like documented, like racing videos, drag racing, street racing. Doesn't matter what it is. He kind of got Cletus started with his whole thing. So he's just been around for a long time. And when we went to Texas 2K last year, he was there filming, just getting like really good content. It was cool. Like he's a good dude.
Wow. So I mean, he's been in tons of cars.
Damn. Yeah.
Probably been in a lot of close
I'm surprised nothing's happened like it's sad to say that, but until now, because like the amount of stuff that they film and do is insane. So like,
What do you think is next for him and what he does with 1320?
I think it's going to be like anything else. Like you crash your motorcycle, you can buy another one. You know, I don't think it's going to change much because I think it's just the passion for what you do. But I also think that maybe there'll be a little bit more precautions. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah. It's scary.
Did you say there was a truck that pushed it back?
Yeah, yeah. So in the GoPro footage, you can see the car is upside down on fire.
Damn.
And about
Holy
45
shit.
seconds into the clip, you can see a truck pull up and push the Supra over so it's back on its four wheels. And then they were able to get him out. But he was trapped in the car. Yeah,
Damn,
no
that's
good.
kind of hard to
the car
hit.
that I'm most afraid of.
It kind of had to hit it because it was like so long. The guy was shifting with his left
Yeah,
hand
I've
straight
had a
right.
bunch of fast cars, but like even then, like you'll be driving and it'll you own the car, you've had it turned up, you turn it down, and it's still you pucker a little bit. It's no joke. I mean, it's fast. It's like it's a very violent experience. I always tell people, I'm like, there's fast cars. Go drive a Plaid, go race people, whatever. Yeah. Then you get into a violent, like, single turbo, open wastegate Supra, and it's just a whole nother animal. You gotta hold on,
Damn. Yeah, so he, oops. So it said here, yeah, so 3 hours ago, or 4 hours ago, they said that he was dead. He died tonight, Tuesday night. What's going on, brother? What's up, nerds? Who are there, nerds? I should look at the Audi RS6 accident. Happened a while back. There's a car on a pole. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what Space Cal's got here real quick. Let's see what he's got real quick. Unless it's some bullshit, and then we'll check out yours. All right, we'll watch this then while I'm looking up the Audi.
Of your teeth. Height.
6'3".
Income.
150,000.
Renter owned. What are you spending on a first date?
$100.
What was that?
$100, ma'am.
Okay, no. Minimum $200 or else it is not a first date. We're just hanging out. Next. Height.
6'3".
Clavtacular.
Wow.
Clavtacular. All right, let's look up the Audi. $186 miles an hour. A semi shifted lanes causing the stroke. Is that the concrete pillar that we're talking about? Okay, let's see if we can find a video of it. Holy shit. It does.
To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, just from Planet.
I googled David Wilcott cause of death, and Google told me he was alive and told me to quit listening to propaganda and misinformation, then provided me a link to the story about his death. Wow. Alright, so it nailed the shit out of that. Holy shit! Shadow, there's no way they survived. That is underwear right there. Look at that. That's the dude's underwear. It's gotta be. Look at that. It's got the underwear, and maybe it was just in his trunk, but Jesus, look at that. Yeah, he's gotta be freaking well gone. Definitely. He was going 200 kilometers an hour. Jesus. Holy shit. It ripped the car in half and wrapped it around. The front of the car hit the back of the car. The front of the car hit the back of the car. Yeah, he's paint. Wow. That's some freaking damage, boy. Oh, man. Yes, it has 0% chance. Yeah. 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 Just came around a turn. He said just coming around the turn, and he was probably just getting into it, just coming around the turn. And then the tractor trailer came over, it looks like from left to right, because it hit the back left of the truck. Holy shit. Damn, the airbags on the outside of the car facing up. Wow. Damn. Holy shit. No, never even heard about it. Never even heard about it. You're the first person to bring it up to me. Damn. That's crazy. My testosterone almost killed me one time racing for nothing on the freeway. Didn't manage speed in the split exit. I needed a sharp right, but took the sloping left. Yeah. Yep. I remember doing a lot of dumb shit with a lot of really fast vehicles. Still here. Jeez. Definitely. It wasn't from skill either. Definitely broke traction a few times, and the car recovered. Didn't have anything to do with skill. It's not as bad as that guy. Right. Yeah, no, Paul Walker's crash was pretty bad, but not that bad. Yeah, so actually I was working with a guy that lives down the street from me, a company called Toxic Tails. Before LED taillights and headlights were a thing, we were creating LED and taillight swaps for cars. And when Paul Walker died, I was using a laser, like a carbon dioxide laser, to cut the plastic, especially the plastic that was like, it was like sunglasses material, so when the LEDs were off, you couldn't see the circuitry, and then when the LEDs lit up, they would shine through like the fogged plastic. And so I could engrave granite. So we sent a granite plaque, Paul Walker standing beside a skyline. And then I can't remember what Hassan, the guy who asked me to do it, we had it sent out there. And whether it's still there or not, I don't know. But it was placed there right where the crash happened. If you you could make out Paul's car after the crash. Yeah, that was just done. That looked like a scrap heap right there. That looked like you went to the dump. Like just a bunch of parts, not a car. Like there's a tire, there's a freaking refrigerator, or a car, or a freaking microwave. Yeah, that stuff was done. Jesus. All right. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. My ass is going to bed. It's 10:30 here in Georgia. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll have an early stream. Then I'm gonna do a game dev stream, and then I'll be here again 3:30 to 10 o'clock tomorrow. All right, I love y'all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Just go crazy. Night, Cheryl. Bye bye.